jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
Okay, welcome all. How are we? Here
So,
we are here for an outrageous video game chat. Got- In one corner, we got Misty's John Mark and Shelly Repko. How are you?
Good.
And then we
I'm
got
also good.
excellent. And then we got Perfect Turd commentators themselves, Lamar Clark Gaines,
yay!
Yeah.
Joe Pignato.
Ah.
Oh. There's gonna be plenty of grunting and imitating as we talk about all these TV fighting adaptations.
Oh boy.
Okay, so the PT podcast is new to the show. So how did you guys get into video games? Or was it the other way around? Did movies based on games get you into video gaming?
Oh man, we're going back in the freaking time. Oh my gosh. SNES for me, Mario, Super Mario. You had to blow on the cartridge. That's how I started with video games.
Perfect.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Same here. Super Mario 3 for me was like big back then. That was the best. Which led to my first disappointment when it came to video game movies.
Let's get into it.
Just gonna get right into it.
Man. Ooh.
Not to quote Leroy Jenkins. Let's do this. So Shelly, when did you start playing games?
Honestly, I want to say it kind of happened twice, because once, like, I had the chance to play, like, the NES for like a year. My uncle loaned me a system and some games, and so I played Mario. I played the one Star Wars game. I played Duck Hunt. I was horrible at all of it, of course. I'm still horrible at Mario. And it was like, oh, this is fun. I can do this. This is fun.
So if
And
you
then
were to
I want to
play
say, like,
Call of Duty with you, you would be the suicide bomber. Who would kill us all.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, you'd let us shotgun you to death, and then we'd run past you and you'd blow us up.
And then when I was 12, I got a computer, so that really opened up the world. Yeah,
Perfect.
that really opened up the world of games.
Nice. All right, John. When did you decide you were gonna play with something other than your thumbs and play with thumbs that interacted with a computer screen?
Well, it's actually my brother that gave me the GoldenEye game for the Nintendo 64. That's what introduced me to video games in the first place.
Gotcha. Good. Alrighty, so yes, as PT Podcast perfectly summed up, Super Mario Bros. Was kind of the first one in the door. So I did not bother with this for the longest time because it's like, even that poster, no one looks even remotely like these Italian stereotype characters.
Yeah.
I was more familiar with the everybody do the dinosaur song that featured so heavily on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get on the floor. So, what do we like about this movie? If there's anything, when there's not much.
They jump.
There really isn't that much to like about it if you think.
I mean, it's kind of been decades since I've seen it because when I was younger, when it came out, I'm like, this is awesome. It's a video game movie. You know, like the whole kid wonder kind of thing. And it was just funny seeing this brought to life. But now, I'm not sure it'd hold up much.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah. It was just one of those things too where they took something that everyone liked and they just abandoned everything that everyone liked about it for something else that just went off into another territory.
It's like one of the few movies where you will see 4 directors credited, uncredited with it. Then, to make things even more questionable, it's kind of like the first Dungeons and Dragons movie where it was like a husband and wife team bought the rights somehow and made it on the cheap, and it was just like, okay, well, are they doing it because their kid likes it, or because they think they can make money? I don't know what there was. John Leguizamo seems to be modest with it. I was surprised he did that interview. And
Yeah.
Bob Hoskins was like, don't ask me about it.
He did it for the money, and that's. And then also it's kind of dark if you think for like a children's movie because it takes you from real world. You know, I think they were in like New York, and then it takes you to this dystopian like freaking city and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know, like what they were. Did they not understand like this was like a kids thing? Were they trying to attract to like grown-ups as well? It was real weird, the tone of it.
Pretty wild. All right,
Yeah.
John, why is this a guilty pleasure for you?
I know. I guess I can somewhat have fun with some of the performances, even though a lot of them are really bad. Particularly with Dennis Hopper.
Oh man, Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Well, the strange thing, no, but it's still not the worst video game movie to me.
No.
We'll talk about that later
No.
on.
Oh yeah, before we even get to you, Ball. Okay, so the next one I have listed here is none other than Double Dragon. Oh boy.
Oh God.
So I was really even more surprised by what I thought all these movies were distributed by. I could have sworn both these were by New Line Cinema because they looked like outtakes from like a Jackie Chan or Ninja Turtles movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can see that, yeah.
And this movie is sleazy as fuck. I think I just fast forwarded it through it one day when it was on cable. It was like, I'm not gonna make it even a second in this movie. Robert Patrick has funny hair. That's it.
That's it.
He turned into a paper man.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. Alyssa Milano, poor gal, doesn't have anything to do. And Mark Dacascos, the Iron Chef.
He is completely wasted in that movie.
Years before Brotherhood of the Wolf and John Wick 3.
Yeah.
Everybody starts somewhere. So I
What's
guess
the name? Oh, go ahead.
I'm wondering which movie he laughs about more, this or the Island of Dr. Moreau movie.
Well, wait a minute now. He was in a movie that me and Joe watched. What was it? Which one was it of the Kickboxer series? Was it 4?
Kickboxer 5, yeah.
Kickboxer 5. Dear Lord.
Yeah, that one was pretty awful.
Oh yeah, I was looking for silhouettes in the corner each time I was watching it, but it got even more awkward because it's like that was the first of that franchise I saw.
Yeah. Here's the difference, though. Kickboxer 5 didn't have the expectation of a Double Dragon movie.
Very true.
You know?
Right.
That's very true.
Double Dragon, it's just like, it just seemed like no one really knew what they wanted to make, so it was just like, okay, let's just let's have shots of everybody's asses, and then let's have shots of just all these other just was this corporation stuff. Is like, is this meant to be like RoboCop? Is this meant to be like, what is it trying to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very weird movie. Yeah. Yes.
So
It's very odd when you find out that one of the writers is the director of Shoot 'Em Up.
Oh wow.
no.
Yes, I just found that out.
Really? Oh my god.
Mhm.
So which do you think is worse to slug through, this or Super Mario Brothers?
I'd say this.
Yeah, I'd say Double Dragon too. I think that's way a little worse.
Because it's like Super Mario Brothers, you got that it was kind of meant to be Laurel and Hardy, and it just wasn't always successful. And this one, I don't know what it's trying to be. Is it trying to be Lethal Weapon? Kickboxing movie from the 80s? What is it?
Yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah,
mess.
it's a lot of man, oh man.
Because like at least with Mario Brothers, like they have, like you said, like Lamar said, at least they jump. They have Goombas. Like they have the stuff, even though they messed it up. With Double Dragon, kind of just had nothing to do with the game in a lot of ways, other than the character, like the names of the characters and stuff.
Yeah.
It just lost the plot completely. So.
And was that game ever as big? Excuse my ignorance. Was it ever as big as Street Fighter? Or
No, I don't think so.
So, I guess
It got to a point, but I mean, if you're looking at like if you're looking at now,
Right.
I mean, nobody's talking about Double Dragon. Street Fighter is still around, but
you
Double
did have
Dragon.
some of the console like Double Dragon versus Battletoads. You had
Yes,
some
that's
good,
true.
It had a good little run at the time.
who was the developer? Was it Capcom? Or?
Oh wow.
It
I don't know.
says here on Wikipedia
What?
that is
Konami?
I think so. Yeah.
That sounds like a Konami game. Yeah.
Yeah.
All that. Yep, Capcom. My bad.
Okay.
Oh, Capcom made it. Oh wow.
Oh wait, no,
wow.
shit. I'm misreading. Technos Japan. Who the hell is that?
They made some games. I can't remember. They made something else.
River
Did they make
City
King of
Ransom,
Fighters?
Super Dodgeball, Renegade.
Okay.
So yeah, they were part of the DS era. Jeez. Tag Team Wrestling. V3, Mania Challenge. And Battle Line Volume 5 and WWF WrestleFest. Okay.
Wow.
Crash and the Boys Street Challenge. Okay.
They tried. Wow. I thought they made King of Fighters. I guess that was somebody else.
I thought so too. I could have
Yeah.
sworn there was like a Double Dragon versus Street Fighter. But it could have easily been Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat or something. But
Yeah.
all right, so let's move on to Van Damme's Street Fighter from the writer of Die Hard, making his directorial debut.
That's correct.
Oh God.
To be short, the the cast was either too busy being on drugs, getting injured, or screwing each other.
Well, that was all
Pretty
Van
much.
Damme. Do we have any proof that anybody else was having,
Oh, yeah.
extramarital sex
I
or
was trying to
drugs?
be nice, but yeah, no, I should really be forthcoming. It's all Van Damme's cocaine. But it is kind of funny how you look at the production of this, and it's just so fascinating. Like, this is easily up there. This was the equivalent of Apocalypse Now in terms of how chaotic it was. It's like Van Damme doesn't look like the character, and yet the Japanese, funder Capcom wanted him in the movie, and Raul Julia, it's his final role, and it's like then there's like some brief blood in a shootout, and it got an R rating, and then they took it all out, and it got like a G rating. I am not making this up. Like there just wasn't anything to it, and so then finally they just decided, okay, Van Damme improvised that, he said the line wrong, and then he intentionally said it wrong, and the director's like, what's the hell is up with you? And then finally he just said, you know what, fine, I'll just say the line and then squeeze in a few F-bombs, and so that got the PG-13 rating.
Wow.
Dear
Yep.
God.
Yep.
Yeah, Street Fighter had and I mean, it's known for having a lot of characters, but this movie had way too many characters, like from the game, which I guess they were going for that, but it kind of just muddles the story because it jumps pretty much all over the place to me. That's how I feel like.
Yeah. DeSouza stated he didn't want to make a generic martial arts movie and described it as a cross between Star Wars, James Bond, and a war movie. I don't know where he got the war movie part.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
If anything, I felt it was like leftovers from Commando and definitely Die Hard when you just see the news anchors and people being taken hostage, but that's it. Yeah, as a standalone action movie, would you enjoy this, or is it just too bland even in that respect?
I can appreciate like Raul Julia's role. He did great, right?
Oh, totally.
That's same here.
Yeah.
Bison.
But you know, other than that, it doesn't have a lot going. It's a little too campy.
Oh,
And
totally.
I can see out of the three that we've mentioned so far, though, if I was with a group of friends, I would probably want to watch this one and make fun of it the most. So
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have
have
the most
tracks of
fun
this.
watching it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there also
Dear
seems
God.
like there's a bunch of egos on here. Like, they credit Benny the Jet, one of Jackie Chan's, compadres. And it's just like, what's he doing in this? And I don't even recall him in this, but Wes Sudi is in here, and he just looks bizarre with the patch eye, and then...
Actually, I forgot he was in that.
No, totally. So there you go. Producer Edward R. Pressman. Or actually, no, that's someone else. But yeah, then Damian Chapa. I'm sorry. The dude is not an actor. He worked in Blood In, Blood Out. But, it's just each time you see him, you just know you're just going to get a very whiny, bizarre form from him. But yeah, I really don't even think much about it. I'm not even really in a... But see, since I'm just so used to just campy, stupid stuff, I just kind of shrug my shoulders and say, it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's
How I feel.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've had so many other pals just, I don't even know what they're going to say versus, it's like, I've seen some gamers who are also Van Damme fans just put it on. It was their party movie growing up, and I've seen others who just violently just say, "Oh fuck no, that's for them. That's their Batman and Robin. Don't mention it. I hate it."
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the one thing too for me, like being a young kid at the time, Van Damme was like one of my heroes. In Street Fighter, it marks a period in his career where he went from hero to kind of zero. So there's that too.
Man, oh man. that was the oof. Dear God.
Definitely kind of started making the 90s just work against him slowly but surely. And
Yeah.
Yes.
it didn't help that it was one of the few movies he did that you could take a kid to see, and it was just like, yeah, but don't do it. Don't do it.
Right.
So let's go into Get Over Here, the Mortal Kombat movies.
96, yeah? Or
Yeah.
5?
95.
95 and 97.
95.
And
Man.
Still my favorite video game movie.
Yes.
To this
I
day.
agree wholeheartedly.
100% agree.
oh, totally. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. There's some scenes that take their sweet time getting going, but if you look at it now, but you know what you're in for. It's it looks like they used a lot of the same Ninja Turtles props and wardrobe.
I'm sure they did.
The interplanetary stuff wasn't confusing. It was just kind of like, okay, so we're gonna go to this section.
And
They
definitely-
also have the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
They also have the perfect choice to play Shang Tsung.
That's
Oh,
exactly
Oh
what I was
yes.
gonna
He
say.
Terry Hoji
steals the
Tagawa.
show. Yes.
I
I was about to say, like, one of the most underrated movie villains of all time. He was
Exactly.
so good at that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Kiritaga was pretty much took over the 90s. I mean,
yeah.
to just come from Showdown in Little Tokyo,
Tokyo.
and
Yeah.
then to this, and then just all these other just unusual, just like guest appearances where you're like, whoa.
He was such a charming bad guy. That's what you love about him. Like he had just this charm about him, but he was so sinister at the same time.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And
And I-
he's unpredictable. You never know what he's gonna say or do. And I think this
Exactly.
is why he got the role in Talkin'.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of good casting choices because Robin Shou, he was good, and they didn't make Liu Kang like a one-note kind of Asian character. They gave him some depth. Lyndon Ashby was very good.
Oh yeah.
He really, because I think he was like, of course, he wasn't a martial artist, but he just fit the cocky, martial arts guy. And then Bridget, I mean, she was just before, there was this emergence of like, strong female characters. I say she has a staple in that because she was really good in that movie too. So yeah, she was really good.
What's funny about that is they were gonna have Cameron Diaz play that role, but then
Really?
she got injured during filming, so Bridget came in, and
I
that
did
was the
not know
original
that.
choice.
It's crazy.
That's
I didn't know
wild.
that.
She would
I
be
didn't know that
interesting.
either.
Yeah, and to go off of what Lamar was saying there, unlike the other movies that we were talking about, like every character in this movie actually has a motivation for what
Yeah.
they're doing
Yes.
here.
Oh,
And
totally.
they're all on their individual journeys and they come together in that way. So it's actually a real movie, like with a real structure and everything. So that's what makes it great.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I mean, in many ways, I mean, Paul W.S. Anderson, he just can't get away from video game movies. He became kind of the video game adapting guy. And I think because he was such a big movie fan, that's when he just knew it was like, okay, so we're basically remaking Bloodsport, but the Mortal Kombat characters.
Yeah, you
Pretty
could say
much.
that.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
And it always had kind of a weird Highlander moment to that, and that's even before you get to the Christopher Lambert portion of Raiden. I was like, okay, yeah, it is kind of, everybody's just, you kind of take it for granted, even if you're not familiar with the fantasy world it's based in.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So Annihilation.
Oh
was
God.
it's
Which
funny
has
that-
Everybody
that tagline fits that movie so well. I'll tell you
Right.
that.
and it's just so funny how it's just like they were making progress and then it set them back a dozen more years.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you recast James Remar as Raiden? But it is kind of funny though how Brian Thompson seems to be kind of proud of that movie, but then again, I guess he's kind of weird that way.
Yeah.
I never
don't know
gave
why.
this one that much thought because it was just kind of another B movie that somehow got released theatrically with a direct-to-video budget, and
Yeah.
there was a funny podcast I was listening to, and they were just joking how they're like, yeah, so it looks like they took a set from Babylon 5.
Yeah.
Pretty
And
much.
then they repurposed it even further on that TV show that they had around that
Oh,
same
really?
time.
Well,
Yeah.
so what
I
what
forgot
are our
about that
takes on
show. Yeah.
on the TNT show as well as the Machinima web series? What are your takes on that?
I do like that. The web series I thought was really
Web
good.
series was cool.
Johnny Rico playing Johnny Cage. Coincidence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that TNT show, but it reminded me of Kung Fu, like the New Legacy. Like I don't know why.
very
It was
much.
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone forgets they were part of the syndicated TV brand before they formed the WB, and that was one of them. But yeah, it's like TNT was kind of just trying whatever was left over. They basically got. It was like they were discontinuing the other Warner Brothers stations. So yeah, it's like any goofy beat 'em up that was gonna get played on Saturday mornings.
Yep. Exactly.
I do recall that being fun, and I know some people, they said, Daniel Bernhardt's kind of a better known martial artist now because he had done goofy stuff like the Bloodsport sequels and John Wick and the Matrix films, but it's so funny. I knew some people, they only knew him because he was on the Mortal Kombat show. As well as the blonde gal, Kristana Loken, is like before Terminator 3. That's what some people knew him.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't know that. I didn't remember her in that. Dear God.
I didn't either.
Jesus.
So I am kind of interested. Is like, why did John R. Leonardi, for cinematographer, why did he just shoot this movie and make it look so out of focus? Was it really just that limited in what he could use?
It was limited in everything. It was
Yeah.
I mean, they recast both Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade, and they did very well. And then, of course, you mentioned they recast Raiden. I don't know if it was.
I know Lambert was very expensive back then, so I would not be surprised if he was going to go regardless.
Really? He was
Yeah.
expensive?
Yeah, like they
Yeah.
tried to even get him in the Highlander TV show, and that almost didn't happen. And then because they kept stalling, they ended up having to pay like 5 times more than they were going to pay originally. So
Oh wow.
he got pretty spoiled. He wasn't
Jeez.
necessarily impossible to work with. It was just one of those. He had a very busy schedule, and he was going blind. So it's just,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
yeah. Connor McLeod.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, so I found it funny how at times this almost feels like it's produced by Charles Band, you know, Full Moon, who does all those various
Very
puppet
true.
master movies.
We know,
Because it's got-
we know Full Moon. Oh, yes.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
Because yeah, the Sindel portrayer is Musette Vander, and she was in all those Oblivion movies. Oh man, God, she almost made this worth suffering for. I take it back. This is just worth. Unless you are just wanting a very, very brain dead movie, don't even waste any brain power on this movie. Just, I think there was like 3 decent fights and explosions, but yeah, the movie really doesn't make a lick of sense, so it's gonna bore someone regardless.
Pretty
Like I
much,
said-
yeah. It's not interesting, unfortunately. Yeah.
Like I said, that tagline fits. Destroy our expectations.
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough. Get over here. So let's talk about. I know what you did last summer in outer space. I'm kidding. Let's talk about Wing Commander.
Oh,
Which,
man. Wing
which-
Commander.
Which
Wow.
honestly, I didn't know was a video game at all until
Really?
later on.
Okay, so Wing Commander was kind of best known to me as just Mark Hamill was heavily involved, and he snuck in some voice cameos for this movie. I think the biggest issue is Wing Commander was always already kind of derivative of all those other kind of militarized, you know, space kind of combat stuff like Babylon 5 and Aliens. So it's like I wasn't surprised when I saw this getting hurled with various reviews. So I'll let everyone else go first, and then I'll pitch in.
I saw this in the theaters, and I remember as a child, I was once again disappointed by a video game movie. I never played it, but I just remember thinking, wow, this movie is really just bad. Like Freddie Prinze Jr., Matthew Lillard. I mean, they're
Charisma
cool.
is not there.
Well, especially here's the thing: Freddie Prinze Jr. No charisma. Matthew Lillard, I don't think they gave him direction. They just said, just act crazy. Just
Right.
Yeah,
That's what he
exactly.
was known as.
Weird
He's the
stuff.
crazy guy from Hackers, and now, you know, he's like, I'm seeing him he's so evolved now on Twin Peaks and Bosch and that show Good Girls. And I'm like, but he had to come away, you know, when he wasn't the crazed maniac and Scream is like an SLC punk. And it's like, I'm sure that was hard on him. Is like, what do you do? How do you react?
Yeah, pretty much, man.
So, what a weird cast. The whole thing is basically Das Boot in space, and you get the German sub-captain himself playing the
Yep.
commander. Then you get Star Trek B-movie guy David Warner, and then you get all these other Star Wars Star Trek people. Who Captain Panaka himself from Phantom Menace is here, and Tiki Karo. You might know him as the bad guy in movies like Bad Boys.
Bad Boys and Kiss the Dragon.
Dear God.
He definitely was chewing too much scenery. And Saffron Burrows, I always thought was a decent actress, but she was another one who's like everyone was just picking on because she was just always appearing in just bizarre movies like Deep Blue Sea, Troy, and The Bank Job. And
All better movies than this, to be honest.
oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
So apparently Freddie Prinze Jr. really hates this movie. That's pretty funny.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I found this pretty watchable, but God, the dialogue is just very distracting. That's the thing. Is like if you just mute it and just watch the battles and enjoy it, you'll have fun with that. I think David Arnold was very inspired. Didn't he score this? I think he did. Yep. And he pretty much did the theme, so he just gave it a James Bond kind of feel. But I guess you could say Chris Roberts himself just wasn't prepared to direct a feature-length movie. He's like
No.
he's the creator and he's directed the games, and the games were kind of a big deal because he was involving a bunch of sci-fi movie actors in the films, And it's like, but again, it's like this is trying so hard to be like other, outer space kind of movies. Like there's times where it feels like they're trying to imitate Starship Troopers. I'm like, that's not a good standoff point because that's a satire piece that you either like or hate, and this is trying to be serious, but it's just too goofy.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
I can watch it, but boy howdy, there's some shit in here. Oh, made in Austin, Texas. Thanks, Texas. I'm running a joke on this show. Texas contributes so much garbage.
Jeez.
Deep in the heart of Texas. Okay, well, John, I'm gonna let you dive into your favorite Lara Croft.
Well, I guess you could say. No, these are ones that I always have fun with, even as a kid. Well, the first one I loved even as a kid, and having not played the games before that time, that's probably why. But I've always seen him as like almost at that time a modern Indiana Jones. That's probably why
Yeah.
I like them so
'cause the
much.
games totally were. They and Doom came from that whole like, you're in a Minotaur's, lair basically, a maze,
Yeah.
and yeah, you are basically indie, and you're just jumping around, avoiding bandits, Hans Gruber bandits.
Yeah.
And plus, this was the one that introduced me to Angelina Jolie at the time.
There you
Oh,
go.
really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And plus, speaking of Bond, it featured Daniel Craig in here, the first one.
There you go.
Yep.
Right.
And
But he was in that.
He had his English accent in this one, didn't he?
Oh, totally.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wild because you kind of forget that he's the main villain. He starts off as the secondary, potential traitor, and then he becomes basically the main bad guy.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no, you can enjoy either of these, but the CGI is not dated at all.
No, they're not. That's
know
one thing I
what-
will agree with is the CG.
It's
Yeah.
like, Jesus.
Has not aged well at all.
Yeah.
I knew people who weren't even fans of the cast and they like these movies, so that just says how powerful it is as a blockbuster.
I definitely enjoyed it. It was, especially with the history of video game movies, it was a bit of a course correction.
Oh,
So,
totally.
Oh, yeah.
And
So
it was a
that was
perfect
good.
platform. You don't have to know anything about the game to
True.
make
Exactly.
a successful movie. And it's just like, because I mean, the games didn't really follow each other's storylines. They just
Yeah.
more recently, sure, but I mean, this is always just like an actual serialized thing. It's like today we follow Lara Croft.
Yeah, I thought the movie was okay. The one thing that got me was at the end was when she made herself into like an Iditarod and was running with the wolves out of the cave. I'm just like, even as a kid, I was like, that's not possible, is it? Like that's going a little too far.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it makes sense for the adventurer, but they could have just implied it, and we could have left somebody to the imagination instead of just show that.
Yes.
Every movie had to always end. It always kind of, and I think that's just it. We were spoiled by Lord of the Rings and Matrix. Everything had to be. Is like studios were just
Yeah.
basically taking cliff notes, but not understanding what made those work, and just saying,
Yeah.
okay, we got to have some slow motion fight scenes, and we got to have some weird, unexpected plot twist ending.
Right,
Like
yeah.
you get in a horror movie, but it doesn't work.
Pretty much, yeah.
Shelly, what's your take on these? If you saw
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen many, but I have seen Lara Croft, and I was kind of excited because it was like the first video game with the female protagonist, you know?
Right.
But and seeing the movie and it's like watching it, it's like it's pretty much just a vehicle to show off how sexy Angelina Jolie, which is fine. It's fine,
Yeah.
but like video games, like
You can definitely tell there were some prudes back in the day, but I think also they just all had a good cast and crew that knew what they were making. I know there's this older Stars documentary from I think 05 or something, and she got interviewed on it, and it was interesting. She's like, I'm just telling you, here's what the media wants, here's what studio wants, here's how I'm approaching this. And it's like, well, that's some pretty wise advice. I wish everyone could think that way.
Too bad they don't.
Yeah.
Again, how do I look on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to the next one. Also a female-led franchise.
yeah.
Resident Evil.
Man, oh man.
Mm.
I know people. This was their introduction to Mila Jovovich, and I could never
Yeah.
get a straight thing. So like, I would see people say that movie was awesome, and I saw other people say, "Oh, I fucking hate that movie." And so it was like, it was like critic reviews weren't helping either because they were always mediocre for movies. So it was like, I just would only see parts of this on Sci-Fi Channel, and I would just say, okay, well, so there's decent action. Oh, the dude from The Mummy, Oded Farr's in this. Okay, cool, but finding a different kind of undead. But yeah, Mila Jovovich was basically still in Fifth Element mode, except she's actually talking and dyed her hair different. But it's just like, yeah, so I guess it's kind of everything, but it really isn't. Like, so, like, I've seen some people view Mila Jovovich as one of the best action stars of all time, and then I've seen others
Really?
No.
That's
her as one of the worst. So it's just like, yeah, I've seen a few lists, and I'm like, well, but I'm really, I kid you not, just the circles I was hanging out with, I saw people who would nitpick the shit out of a Planet Hollywood movie and would praise something like this. I'm like, you're kidding me. Please give me any of those old
Mila Jovovich as the best action hero.
Harris.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a.
I haven't
a real
minded her
stretch.
in like a straightforward drama or comedy or even a thriller, but it's like, yeah, it's like with these movies, I think the biggest issue is they felt like they were either just too workmanlike or just they were part U-Ball, part Matrix. So it's like, if you got some decent
Yeah.
scenes and Crystal Method and Rob Zombie music blaring, and then you're following it up with very shitty CGI and out of focus shots that look awkward, then it's still, again, it's still a half-baked shit sandwich. So it's like, yeah. So I think if you just want to just rage and just watch a movie that's just what the fuck and just can't take your eyes off it and annoys you, you should put these on. Go to where it all began with U-Ball. Before he started making
Jesus.
bad standalone movies that you show to your students and say, if you want something that's not an F, don't do a movie like this. Let's go with House of the Dead.
House of the
I mean,
Dead. Yeah.
I've seen so many even go as far as to say this is a great unintentional comedy. But see, that's just it. I can't make fun of these kinds of movies because they're just so painful to sit through. Oh, and Jürgen Prochnow is back here from Das Boot. Hi, Jürgen.
Who, in my opinion, is the best part of the movie, to be honest.
I guess
And I
so.
wish he was the main character.
Man.
It's a weird thing because it's like when you talk about like the video game movies, it's like, the games themselves have a mood to them. And with this movie in Resident Evil, it's kind of like they're supposed to be scary. But then they do this, like I remember seeing like a commercial where it was like it was a black actress was jumping in the air shooting a shotgun, and it was like a 360, and I'm like, do you not understand what we're going for here? It's scary.
And no one was really like all that known. Like Jonathan Sherry had been in Final Destination 2, but he wasn't even the main lead. It was shot dirt cheap in like Canada, and
Yeah.
Clint Howard appears briefly. I'm like, what's he doing here? And then there was like one gal from like Smallville, and everyone made a big deal about that. Oh, she's, skinny dipping. I'm like, well, That doesn't have anything to do with anything. But yeah,
Nope.
I mean, I can't tell you what this movie's about. And I got that some people wanted to make a big deal of like just making fun of this movie, but I'm just like, this is so much trouble for even those standards. Because I mean, where do you even begin? Like, it was a pretty straightforward arcade game. I played it plenty of times. But,
Right.
So did I.
Yeah.
and it's just like, how do you get this convoluted and just and I remember it was like one of the worst rated movies. I would even go on Sci-Fi Channel online and they would review the latest releases, and then they started playing it. I'm like, well, come on, guys, shouldn't even play it. But yeah, Sega. I mean, that was a pretty big company, still is some retrospects. But yeah, I mean, Mark A. Altman, I think he said in a funny interview, is like U-Ball gave a very confused conversation on, or no, my bad, that was Alone in the Dark, but same difference, is like U-Ball wanted everything to look like Blade, darkly lit and everything.
Yep.
Didn't know how he wanted to light it. But yeah, like you say, I do recall the TV ads. They were just so confusing, and you're like, that looks kind of cool, random rotation, but what does it mean? And then I think it quickly got forgotten by most high schoolers because it was basically just one of those where it was just like, it was impossible to separate from all the other latest, Friday night entertainment. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone had gotten it mixed up with House of a Thousand Corpses or some other random mindless shoot 'em up at that time. But yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
Really.
Oh, and there was a soundtrack for this, all in German. Okay.
Oh wow.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
When you have DMX Party Up, you think that's all you need. So I didn't know that they had a soundtrack to it as well.
Wait, that plays in the movie?
It plays in a. I remember that was in a commercial, and
That would make sense because I don't.
I was just like, I don't think House of the Dead, had anything to do with DMX's type of music. May he rest in peace. It's just that was just a weird choice.
Oh my god. IGN actually gave this a decent review. And see, I hate this because usually they were pretty laid back at just being decent reviews for all action movies. They say an unabashed B movie that does an incredibly decent job with a limited budget, unknown cast, and routine storyline. What?
What?
Someone got paid.
Somebody
Somebody was high.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. Yes.
had to be because
Yeah.
I mean, even before we got to the whole, U-Ball being petty towards people and starting fights, I mean, can anyone even name a single character in this? I mean, this movie was
Nope.
just so ugly to watch. Like, I just like, what's going on? It's like Blair Witch isn't this darkly lit.
I think they also have a shot where they're doing like a trucking shot where they're like kind of having the cast, like for some reason, all walk with guns, and you can see the track on the actual ground. Like that was a highlight by somebody's podcast, and I was like, wow, I didn't even notice that. That makes it even like more
more
So,
insufferable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Jesus.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, what was the plot? I don't know what the plot was.
I don't think anybody knew what the plot was when they saw it, when they were going to see it, after
And I
they have
mean,
seen it. Yeah.
The poster shows a keyhole, a zombie looking through it, and you're like, okay.
I might just want to watch it again for how bad it is. Like,
Oh God.
yeah,
Only if you hate yourself. But
yeah, I'll be doing something else. I gotta check out all the bad stuff like this.
Alone in the Dark was pretty bad, but see, for a while I was being able to at least follow it for a while because Christian Slater was just, paranoid running around. And then like near the end, that's when it got just intolerable because it was like, okay, now we got all this shitty CGI and other stuff that doesn't make any sense. Now I will say this, one good thing did come out of this. I do think House of the Dead 2 was surprisingly pretty good because A, it didn't have anything to do with this. And it was, even though it was on Sci-Fi Channel, it felt more like Return of the Living Dead.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Where it was just kind of a fun kind of military takes control of a town, and a bunch of teens and military guys are trying to get out of there alive. It was just a very straightforward action comedy, and it was a decent gore fest. And I mean, even Sid Haig added a lot of camp to it, and it was just fun campy movie. And don't get me wrong, I don't blame anyone for not seeing it, because I mean, you know, when but yeah, no, it has nothing to do with the last one, and it was just so much fun. It just had a lot of decent knife play and gunplay and just one-liners. It was just
I'll have to check it out. I missed both of those actually. I never really got into it.
I
played
saw
the
it
games.
a long time ago. Long time. It's on. I think I just looked it up. It's free on Hulu. So if you have Hulu, and like it was said before, if you hate yourself, or if you're doing something else that'll distract you, you can check it out on Hulu.
Oh, get this. I didn't know that the wacky zombie comedy House of the Dead free was actually Dead and Deader. I only knew it under that other title, but apparently Mark A. Altman was involved in both, and he said it was meant to originally be a sequel. Jeez. So these two campy movies that have nothing to do with the original shitfest are pretty reasonable, but man, they shouldn't have even called them that. Who wanted to see a sequel to House of the Dead?
Yeah, I didn't see House of the. I didn't even know it existed.
How much did it even make? It made.
Oh, that's a good question.
Who is making these movies? Okay, so, oh my god, it barely even made its budget back. It
Yeah, barely.
13.8 million, and it made 12 million. Who the fuck went to see it?
I know my
All
brother
those
did.
fans, yeah, they read that
guess.
IGN review and was like, the second one has to be better because IGN said it was. It was
I
amazing.
believe anything all these high gamers say.
Yeah.
Concept of movie. Jesus. Moving on. All right, so I'll just begin with Doom.
Oh boy, yeah, that one.
So I have a love-hate relationship with this. I really fucking hated this when I first saw it. I was like, my uncle wanted to see it, and he's like, how was it? I'm like, it's worse than Highlander 2 through 4. I've come around since then, but it was just like, The Rock kind of made the movie worth watching. Him, Rosamund Pike, and Carl Urban. This is like, because it's like, basically The Rock is like playing this like, he's kind of like Dolph Lundgren in Universal Soldier, or Rhodes in Day of the Dead by Romero. He's kind of playing it up as like every war movie, military film you've seen. He's basically being a war criminal, committing war crimes. And he does have a good line there when he's getting taken away by the zombies at first, or he's like, I'm the sergeant, I'm not supposed to die.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of bullshit in here. Like, it spends the almost the first hour is like, it begins kind of decent as an experiment gone wrong, Jurassic Park kind of movie. And then it just becomes all this bullshit where it's like, all these people you do not give a fuck about are slowly getting killed bit by bit. I'm like, guys, we have seen this a dozen times. I get that's part of the game. That can't, anyone you guys have studied screenwriting before, right? And you know that action only, like, it's not supposed to last long, like maybe 1 to 3 sentences, and that's it. How did this take up this much space on a script? It's about 20 minutes of them just wandering around saying, what's out there? I'm not sure. It was like, fuck, guys, why are you doing this to us? So it was kind of a big career maker, because, I mean, this launched Dave Callahan into being a script writer. You know him as the writer of the new Mortal Kombat, as well as the Expendables in America, the motion picture. But then you got, Lorenzo Di Bonaventura and John Wells of ER produced this. I'm like, okay, well, interesting. So what do you think, this being the first movie to show a first-person shooter sequence?
My first impression of that, I haven't seen it since it came out, but I remember My first impression was like, if this was a movie not called Doom, if it was just some other movie and they didn't tell me it was related to the game, I might have given it a little bit of a pass. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, and I think it's just it. It was too. Doom was already pretty inspired by all these other, shooter games, or well, it was kind of the big standout shooter game, but it was, it's definitely inspired by Predator and all those other kind of just, just person creeping around and trying to get away from the undead. But yeah, I mean, oh, look at who was. So Arnold Schwarzenegger was considered for the lead, and then Vin Diesel was offered it, turned it down.
Wow.
So then it went to The Rock.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was already. How do you feel everyone stood in this movie? Because I only knew Carl Urban as being in Ghost Ship and Lord of the Rings.
And Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah, I did this around the same time, and so I can definitely say this is probably why he got his roles in Almost Human and Star Trek reboots. Is like, but I would say even more so, like, gamers are all kind of divided on this still. Like, some feel like it's pretty straightforward. They got what they expected, and others were just like, oh, fuck this movie. But I guess you could say the biggest issue is the makeup on The Rock. This was done by Stan Winston's studios.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
And I was just like, the dude who did End of Days, Predator, Terminator, Iron Man, and
I don't believe you. You need more people. That's insane. That's crazy.
I know John is a big fan of the director. I have not liked anything by this director. You probably know him as doing the martial arts and kung fu trilogy that starred DMX. Cradle to the Grave.
Oh,
Right.
what's his name?
Yeah.
Andre Bartholomew. Well,
yeah, he's Polish.
Ooh.
You can't even pronounce his name.
Romeo Must Die was was a good. I'll say it was good, and then we had a spirited conversation about what. Wow, I can't remember. Exit Wounds. That was a movie with a lot of interesting choices.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know how you go from shooting for Sidney Poitier, not Sidney Poitier, Sidney Lumet.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's what it was.
Then doing, being the cinematographer on Falling Down, Species, Jade, U.S. Marshals, Devil's Advocate, which definitely looks more like hell in that movie alone, and Lethal Weapon 4. And it's just like 13 days and so Speed, I'll give him a pass on that because that was already directed by a wonderful cinematographer who worked on blockbusters like Hunt for Red October and Die Hard. But it's just like, how do you? I really. So we're seeing a pattern here. They keep hiring the cinematographers. Is it because they're less expensive? I would think they'd still be expensive since they've just joined the Directors Guild to work on a major studio picture with SAG involved. So what's going on? It's like, we obviously seen John Leonotti didn't do a good job with Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I do think this has the best action that this guy has shot, but at the same time, there is some bullshit in here. Like, take out those first 20 minutes. It doesn't need it at all. Everybody's going to become a living target. But I will say Clint Mansell's score is really good, but he's always good. Any other closing thoughts? What do we think about the cheesy final fight between The Rock and Carl Urban?
I don't think Carl Urban could take someone like The Rock, and I think we talked about the makeup. That was interesting. That was wow.
Because it just feels like just every other kind of junky 80s or 90s movie we've seen, and it's just like, has Hollywood just not learned from what makes a good movie? It's not makeup like that.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny though, because it's kind of ironic. It's like he has to kill him by sending him into a portal where he'll get eaten to death by zombies, and they never really explain if it makes them zombies or just bloodthirsty. It's just kind of left to the imagination. It's just kind of it's just so consumed with just showing gore versus analyzing what they're trying to make.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
the biggest issue too is they showed you Mars in the trailer, one of the trailers. They had Cell Dwellers Switchback playing, and so you're like, okay, I'm down. But that's not what the movie didn't have even much of a glimpse of Mars.
I was about to say, I don't remember Mars in this movie.
You kind of forget after a while that it's set on Mars, and it's like, well, okay, it could have really benefited had it kind of had a Total Recall kind of corporation or something, just trying to shut everything down. That would have been a lot of fun. And I will say, this was kind of loosely my introduction to Nine Inch Nails. I'd heard the name before, but I didn't know they had been featured in other movies. They're the end credits song.
Hmm.
Don't you know what you fucking... But I don't know why they're trying to get all that psychological when this movie didn't go there.
No.
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 That's
Okay.
easy.
I know some people view this as one of The Rock's best roles. He definitely kind of carries the movie, but at the same time, like, I know he came pretty forward saying, Rampage is my best video game movie, and this is my worst video game movie.
See, someone go ahead, because, boy, I haven't seen it, but I saw the trailer, and I remember playing the game, and I have some thoughts. Yeah.
I saw it. The only thing I can say about it is it's forgettable. It
Exactly.
really is.
My words exactly.
I think
And I saw it
that's just it.
not too long ago.
I had fun in a simple Godzilla King Kong kind of way,
Yeah.
because it went for that. But at the other same time, like, what it benefited from was kind of like Geostorm. It went fast and it tried to get it over and done with, because it's like, you're not going to see anything that you haven't already seen in a billion times other, where a bunch of Marines don't take this seriously and get slaughtered one by one. I didn't see the trailer, so I went in blindly. I was like, okay, it's going to be another disaster movie with The Rock. With my sister and I had kind of just had it be just a current thing. It's like, all right, shut up and take our money. We're going to see another stupid movie with The Rock. It's going to be either enjoyable or it could be bad.
Yeah, I remember that this was one of the first games I ever played on the PlayStation.
Oh, cool.
And the thing is that, I remember the goal of the game is to, blow up the city and, mess around with, and have the monsters just basically, destroy the city and stuff like that. So when you make a movie like this, it's kind of like, well, okay, he's, I don't know, trying to relate to the monsters, but that kind of goes against why you played the game anyway. It's kind of like,
Oh dear.
He's got a little bit of a buddy cop relationship with the gorilla.
Yeah,
he does.
Oh man. So let's go to more deep hurting. We'll keep it brief. Mortal Kombat Conquests. Kristana Loken stars in Blood Rain,
oh man.
God.
starring Michelle Rodriguez of Resident Evil.
Now this has, other entries in it, shockingly.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
I have not seen them, thank God.
I'm not seeing either.
Oh
So.
boy. I saw the first one.
Oh yeah. I
boy.
had to watch it twice because I was working on a site and having to do a kill count. I'm like, I just started fast forwarding it, muted it, and I'm like, and I've seen some people try and justify it. Oh, it was decent gore fest, decent nudity. I'm like, no, not even that. I can't see what's going on because, again, the editing, the camera work, it's just not every movie has to be perfect. But when you just are so subsequently confusing, and you got Ben Kingsley, during a dead point in his career, years before Prince of Persia. We'll get to that soon. And Billy Zane is only in this because he owned a production company, and U-Ball later.
And Michael Madsen.
Oh, poor Michael.
Oh
Madsen.
yeah.
He was completely drunk.
Was he really?
Yes,
Well,
he
you
was.
have to be in this movie. I mean, but see, here's my thing. Two things. Did Ben Kingsley do something horribly wrong to somebody and we don't know about it?
Yeah, he was going through an awful divorce, and it literally put him almost in poverty. So
Oh wow. Okay.
That's okay, because I'm just like, Ben Kingsley is an amazing actor.
because
Like,
he was the
played
only known
Gandhi.
actor for this. Is like, who the hell's Cristiano Loken? Oh, the guy from Terminator 3. Which
Yeah,
doesn't
and
matter.
it's and it was shot horribly too. I remember seeing it. And
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, this looks bad. This looks like a direct to video like movie.
Yeah, Entertainment Weekly at the time was telling people you should check it out. The commentary's hysterical. I'm like, I don't want to sit through a bad movie. And
No.
Sci-Fi Channel played it briefly again, and I'm just like,
Now, there are two more of these movies. The second one is just bland. And then the third one, for some reason, they made her like super sexualized.
oh God.
And they made her bisexual. She goes into like a brothel, and then like she saves some women, and then they're like, ooh, well, thank you so much. There's a sex scene, and then there's another sex scene just randomly on a train after she gets captured. And it has the guy, and it has Ron Howard's brother in it.
Yeah,
For some
Clint
reason.
was in House of the Dead, so yeah, there's a connection. He's a B movie guy. He starts in anything, but
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that's just it. They keep saying Yuval, well, he's such a dick about name calling all these people. Like you've seen the one part where he went on a random rant saying Spielberg sucks, Tarantino is full of himself, and fuck you, Michael Bay. And this is like he starts all these random feuds, and he only makes these movies because he had enough saved up from the Germany tax cuts, and everyone who's worked with him said, "Oh, he's a nice, pleasant guy." So it's like, well, but still. So this leads us to his next one that he did. Actually, no, that's later on. But so what was you guys' takeaway on the Silent Hill movies?
See, those movies, I don't know if I don't like them. It's just not my cup of like that hyper suspense and everything like that with the ghosts. It was shot. I think it was shot well, but then the actual movie, I was just sitting there like, is anything gonna happen? That's me. So
They had a cool cast, both of
I
them.
kind of felt the same way, to be honest.
yeah,
Both kind of very obsessed with just showing a mixture of, haunted villagers and, again, just kind of something you might even expect in something like a Phantasm movie where it's just like people are going to a town and just encountering strange occurrences. But it does test your patience if you don't know what to expect. It's like, what should I be scared from?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, moving on. So then we got Mortal Kombat on steroids, or so we say, best of the best level. Dead or Alive.
Oh boy,
I actually haven't seen this one, so
I've seen parts of it, and it's just like it's another that looks like it's direct to video.
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's hard to make a fighting game into a movie if you don't have like the right people to do it. So
The writer of Chain Reaction and
Chain
Under
Reaction.
Siege movies. So it's very campy, but at the same time, like you say, there are various moments where it's just like, okay, tune it way, way, way down, guys. It's so overkill here.
Yeah.
I saw some people that they swore by this. They had so much fun with it, and other people saying that is the worst fucking movie of my life. Ken Kusagi was in it. Colin Chow, you might know him as from the Forbidden Kingdom and the Matrix sequels. He was in it. Brian J. White from The Shield, and another video game adaptation we'll get to in just a bit. And yeah, Jamie Presley, My Name is Earl. It's like, yeah,
She was.
I was just kind of the same way. It's like, there's some fun moments in this, but I can't believe it got sent to theaters. I don't know how long it even lasted, but I mean, Rotten Tomatoes even said with a ridiculous plot and comical acting, check one's brain at the door is required. So, but yeah, the main villain.
Yeah.
Are you ready for it? Eric Roberts.
Yeah,
course.
we have a love affair with Eric Roberts.
I
We
love
do.
Eric Roberts.
We love Eric Roberts.
But
And
goddamn,
Oh yeah, so do we.
the whole fighting double they use on him is just so bad. It's just like, yeah, it's clearly another stunt double who either doesn't look like him or a CGI double, but he also just chews way too much scenery. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I like it when he goes over the top because that's kind of the point. But at the same time, it was like, here it was just a little too much.
man, oh man.
But it's still in Mortal Kombat mode. It was just embracing that whole thing. And I mean, come on, Eric was in Best of the Best, so it's like, yeah, it kind of makes sense that they went for that kind of mentality. But there's some shit in there, and the CGI was already dated before it even got released, so it was just like, yeah, it is what it is.
Basically, yeah. Oof.
Oh, so let's go to Postal.
What
never
was
got to
that
watch
movie
this.
about? Yeah, I never got to watch that. What was that
I know.
about?
I missed that too.
Basically a series of various comedy that I didn't find too funny because I didn't get the joke. But
I know
Is it
Bull
like
makes fun
someone-
of himself in that movie. That's all I know.
Who's in it?
Uwe Boll, I know he makes fun of himself in that movie because he's in it.
yeah, he gets killed. Only the best part of the movie. But,
Self-awareness.
Yeah, Dave, yeah, there you go. Dave Foley from News Radio is here.
Mhm.
But I just got so bored because it's like people are just randomly getting shot, and it's like, is this supposed to be funny?
Oh, so he was just going postal on people and just,
Mm-hmm.
huh?
It makes sense why he later did movies like Assault on Wall Street and movies
Jesus.
about
Yeah.
school shooters. I don't know what Ball's fascination with anything is really, but yeah, this movie, it just goes around and around, and I would see people sharing clips on the internet for just random, just violence, but I was just like, yeah, if anything, I feel like you Ball just played too many games and was this step away from being just a random incel guy who goes around killing people. You know, it's just
Mhm.
it just shows on screen. But Eric Avari had a bunch of historical interviews. You might know him as one of the wise guys in The Mummy, and he's like, he went against his agent's advice because Yuval came as a sincere kind of guy and he needed the work. And I'm like, again, it's like he came to all of these guys coincidentally in just a shitty part of their whole career, and it's just like people just don't read scripts sometimes. They really should.
They read
They
checks.
should.
They read checks.
They read the check.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what they do. They read the check. Yeah.
And it opened one day after Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh well.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well,
There was a promotional spot featuring Vern Troyer. That's right, Mini-Me as Indiana Jones.
Oh, wow.
mhm.
There's a 118-minute director's cut in Germany. Good fucking God. Okay.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey. Moving on. Hitman, the first one, 2007. Let's get Timothy Olyphant, that dude who's the bad guy in Die Hard 4 and Deadwood, as the bald Agent 47 guy and do a Born Identity, Leon the Professional type story.
That was another one that, to me, came across as kind of bland.
Yeah.
This is kind of like, it's
Yeah.
not it's not super insulting, but it's like, it's just kind of bland. It's like,
I think so. I hated
Yeah.
it the first time I saw it, but later on I kind of just accepted it as a fun gore fest. I've seen some, and same deal, I've seen some gamers praise it and others just say, fuck that movie, it doesn't make sense. So it's like, you just can't win with these video game movies.
No.
No.
I think it's also like video games kind of sometimes are very basic anyway because it's about the gameplay. So to build like a whole movie around it sometimes can be
Yeah.
very difficult. So
Oh man.
yeah.
yeah.
So more U-Ball sufferingness
Man, he has done so much.
in the name of the king.
Oh,
That's based on a
God.
game?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it is.
Is it really?
Mhm.
Is it a board game or a
Oh.
video game?
And
Yeah.
It's a video game by Microsoft Studios,
Wow.
but yeah, that's just it. I never played it, so
I never played it either.
I
It's such a
heard
waste of a
about it.
cast. Ugh,
Oh yeah, and
God.
Yeah.
Well,
that
how
was
do you
me.
go wrong with Jason Statham? I mean,
Playing a farmer named, wait for it, Farmer.
Farmer. Yep.
Farmer. God, yeah.
and Ray
Yeah,
Liotta
yeah,
was the
Ray
bad
Liotta.
guy too, right?
He is the worst part about this fucking movie because
Well, him and
They-
Matthew
they
Lillard,
do-
to be honest.
I keep forgetting
Right.
he's in it. But yeah, it's like U-Ball is like no one can get a good performance in because he does all these weird, you know what I mean? He does all these weird zoom ins and he transforms their voice. So it's like next thing you know, it's like it's like this is very, very, very annoying. How can anyone? I mean, I would not be surprised if everybody just walked out on, opening day.
You have to be a special kind of director to not get a good performance out of Ray Liotta. Like,
He made a director's cut of this as well. Fucking hell.
You know what the budget was for that?
50 million or some shit like
About
that.
50 or 60 million.
And then you have John Rhys Davies. Oh, get it? Gimli from Lord of the Rings. Let's have him a Lord of the Rings inspired movie. Let's have Brian White from Dead or Alive be in here. And let's
Dear
have
God.
Christina Logan from Blood Rain be in this movie.
Let's have Burt Reynolds in it.
Yeah, just because he doesn't care. As the king.
Yeah.
That's really what it was, right? It was just capitalizing on the Lord of the Rings.
It really
wave
was.
that
And-
was going on.
That makes sense.
And
I didn't
just-
even know it was a game. So
Yeah, so basically he was able to make a movie that was somewhat more coherent, but still is like, okay, so when we saw goofy Conan the Barbarian type movies and their various knockoffs, they were just fun because they were just so over the top, you just couldn't help but just get a shit-eating grin. This one, it was just annoyingly paced and so much dead
And finally
space.
boring.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine what a director's cut is like, except just more walking around pointlessly, aimlessly. Who the hell's distributed this? Don't tell me it was
I remember that.
devil.
20th Century Fox.
Fox. Yep.
Oh,
Freestyle
really?
Releasing. Independent company in LA. Oh, you idiots. Yeah, no, it was so funny. I didn't see it. I knew it wasn't going to be good because I was kind of all I did, if I wasn't watching movies, I was reading about movies. That's all I did as a kid. And I just was reading all these unanimously bad reviews, poor Lee Sobieski and Claire Forlani, and just, wasted Save the Princess or Warrior Gal roles. And, but it was just so funny. It's just like, in one of my tech classes in high school, is like everybody unanimously was like, oh, no, do not talk about that movie. It's like they were all into games and movies based on games, and they're just like, yeah, no, they didn't even try on this movie. Then it was just so funny. Again, it just started playing on like USA or Sci-Fi Channel one day, and my uncle wants to watch more of it, and my sister is like, oh, I've heard about this, and my uncle's like, but it's got Ron Perlman. I'm like, no,
Whoa.
change the channel now. We're not watching this. We know what it is. We're not gonna last long. Let's just watch something else, fun, like, Star Trek or a sitcom, let's not do this, please. And is Blind Guardian. That's right, the awesome metal band provided the main theme. No.
Nice. Wow, I didn't know that.
I'm
I'm
sure I've
kind
heard
of a
that
fan.
song. Oh,
Ron Perlman
they're
was in this. Wow.
Ron Perlman. Blind Guardian's a great band, but
Yeah, they are.
what the hell? Hammerfall also. Well, no wonder it sounded familiar. Jesus. I doubt the album made any sales. Oh boy. I hope I'm not putting anyone to sleep with these awful.
We have to carry on. We have to tell the people.
We must do the quest.
Unfortunately for
Yes.
these.
Yes.
So then U-Ball did Far Cry. That one really set me off because a lot of people were trying to say, oh, this is fun in a commando way. And I'm like, no, this has even more of his random just stuff, random edits where people are sped up and people are just, just random plot exposition that is non-existent. And again, distributed by Fox. Thanks, Fox.
Yeah, I
I
hadn't
missed
seen
that.
that one. Yeah.
But yeah, Far Cry was that was the male Tomb Raider for the longest time. You would go around, shoot up some pirates and
Oh yeah.
be a mercenary, and it's just like, and he has Emmanuel Vagier from House of the Dead 2. Again, he gets all these Canadian actors who you've seen in a million things, Highlander, Stargate, because that's where they're filmed. But this is like, yeah, this can't look good. Oh, that's right. Anthony Bourdain was in this. Don't ask me who he played.
Wait, the Anthony Bourdain?
The
Like,
famous chef. I don't know who he played.
Really?
Must have been
Wow,
a
I didn't even know that.
Must have been a nice vacation.
we're learning so many just sad roles that actors have had to take. I mean, I know Ben Kingsley, but then I forgot about Michael Madsen. He was in Blood Rain, and then
Yeah. This one.
Ray Liotta was. Dude, God.
Far Cry has Patrick Muldoon, who had originally starred in a few of. He and another Starship Trooper actor, I'll be nice, have also starred in some of Ball's non-video game movies that are basically much like Postal, just very bad, falling down American Psycho knockoffs. And yeah, this one also has Udo Kier. Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Udo Kier is kind of like a good. He's a good star, and then to be in this is kind of like.
He's a German actor. You got to just accept what you can take. Yes.
Man, oh man, it's just like I said. You just find out all these just actors just like, well, I need a check.
You want them to even kind of answer to it, because sometimes like you'll see, you won't even have any intention of watching the certain movie, but you'll see some of the photos. You know, there's the first ones that come up on their IMDb page, and you're like, what's that from?
Yeah.
Oh, that bad movie that they're probably better known for, and they would care for everyone to not remember. But yeah, it's like somehow video game movies, they kind of were like famous 70s actors. In an off day, they would go on vacation, star in a weird giallo or just all-star cast in like France or Germany. Is like, Jesus, is like, so they must have had great catering.
We've talked about that before. Like, we could picture the conversation between the actor and his agent, and he's just like, "Listen, you have to be in this movie. You know, these video games are real popular."
I would so fire my agent if they get me in this.
Who doesn't know about the Mario Brothers? You'll be uber famous.
Yeah, this is
You will be well known. You will be known.
Yeah, you'll be known for all the wrong reasons.
Oh boy.
I think it's just with some of these actors, it's just like, look, just make sure I get my money, because if I don't get my money, there's no point to this.
Exactly.
Full up front.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So let us go to Max Payne.
Oh God.
Is it painful or is it watchable?
Painful for me.
It's
Especially as somebody who was a big fan of the game's time.
So you take
That
the unknown
was
screenwriter.
great game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a Death Wish Punisher type game with Matrix type bullet time effects.
John Woo it's basically just John Woo Americanizing a video game.
Yeah. Did the Max Payne game predate the Matrix?
Actually, yeah, you might have it right, and so that's why they did mods later. But yeah, it's directed by John Moore. He's done fun movies like Behind Enemy Lines and the Omen remake. But yeah, this one was one where it's just like decent action. I know the biggest case that a lot of pals who I know who watched it said was, why the hell did they hire Ludacris as the lieutenant? He's not an actor, and that character looks nothing like Ludacris.
Because he's cool. He's hip. Get one of those hip hop artists.
I guess.
I mean, we already have Marky Mark. I mean, we gotta turn it up a notch. Right. And I just want to confess, I have a hatred of Marky Mark Wahlberg. So
there you go.
I'm sorry. I'm biased. I'm very biased.
This was what introduced me to Mila Kunis starting to be in action movies from this point forth. It was like,
yeah. See, I never liked her from the beginning, so that didn't help either.
Not a 70s show fan. That's all good.
And that's the weird thing about it is like it's definitely based on like a lot of those like old school Hong Kong movies, Hard Boiled, The Killer. But when you see the movie, it's just like, what? Where's the two guns? Where's the shooting? Where's the jumping in the air? Like, Yeah. Oof.
It was the wrong director for that.
Yeah. So.
Well, even more so, I think just the wrong studio, because I mean, Fox was
That's
just trying
true.
to do what they did with Hitman, and it was just like,
man.
I had fun with the action, but don't get me wrong, like you've seen this crooked cop storyline to death, and I think another big issue is Mark Mancini's score was kind of bland. Just kind of just showed how, instead of doing a good job showing how dramatic it could be, it just kind of reminded us of just how melodramatic it really is becoming.
Wasn't Marilyn Manson involved with that score to some degree? Or
I
no?
think his song,
Was he?
one of his songs, just played in the trailer. I think
Is
that was
what it was?
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
I was
the
about
biggest,
to say, wow, that's random as shit.
Yeah.
but yeah, Sean Ryan, the creator of the Shield, was like the original writer, and then they fired him. But it was like they should have kept him on. He's a great script writer. But I think more or less it's just, 2008 wasn't a good year for Wahlberg. This same year as The Happening, and then it comes
Yep.
out against The Dark Knight. I'm like, well, so like or hate The Dark Knight. Well, the biggest issue is if you see the R-rated, unrated version, totally different kind of movie, just very different, like more profanity, which allows for character development and gory shootouts. It's like, well, that's just it, because they wanted to get a PG-13 rating. It's like should just had to be rated R.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I
That
did
makes
see it.
sense now.
I did see it
Yeah.
in the theater. It was pretty well sized. I saw
So did
a few.
I.
I saw a few people clapping and other people just kind of silent the whole time. But
That was me.
I think the other big issue is all the crime bosses that are introduced really have no impact on the rest of the story. Is like, were you trying to set this up for a sequel? Because this is not how you get a sequel.
No.
And then you get
No.
Olga Kurylenko, the babe from Hitman and Quantum
Yep.
Solace, in here, and she doesn't have any impact on the story. It's like, so yeah, I don't know if they were just trying to imitate all the Punisher movies, which already struggle with the source material, or what, but I definitely didn't mind the action, but it's another one that has some mediocre moments to it. But don't worry, we're in for the worst one that doesn't have any U-ball attached to it. Let's go to Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li.
Oh God, I saw this in the
This
theater too.
movie, man.
I have it starring another Smallville star, Kristen Kruk. You want to become a
Yep.
movie star? You can do it. We think.
We have to talk about the casting for this one because I get it. She looks Asian, but it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, well, why don't you just get an Asian actress that's probably, does, because there's a lot of female like martial arts stars.
And by the director of Doom.
Oh,
Yep.
and it's
It was.
like, and then wasn't one of the guys from like American Pie? He played Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie, Chris Klein. So
Chris
get
Klein.
this. For the longest time, I used to always think that he looked like Zach Morris. Now, a lot of people say his acting is like the worst part about it. I was like, I don't know, man. I'm just so bored with the rest of this. Like, Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas is making his directorial debut. And Michael Clark Duncan just seems to
It's
just
just wasted.
not have anything to do. But yeah, the biggest offender is Neil McDonald. Is like,
Oh God.
he was what
Bison.
kind of
Bison.
he's like the only really guy who tries in this movie besides Moon Bloodgood, and it's just like, and at the same time, like you say, is like, I don't know who was watching what, but I don't recall Bison being that flamboyant or that over the top in the games. He was just kind of just, a Dragon Ball Z kind of boss. And here, this is like, I guess his instruction was, you must outdo Raul Julia. People love it. And it kind of broke the trailer for me, because me and my sister were watching, and I'm like, not sure if that's going to be good or not.
Oh yeah, and Robin Shaw is in this.
Yes, gotta have a Mortal Kombat reference. Get
Yeah.
it? The kids will love it. And so I think that's just it. The director already doesn't have much of a basis for how to make a movie. He just knows how, hey, we got to have martial artists, and we got to have people who we think are good actors and good to work with. But I'm like, well, just because you put a martial artist in them doesn't mean you are going to give them anything good to do. What are you giving them to do?
And see, I disagree. You say that Neil McDonald, he's trying. I think Chris Klein is trying, but he's trying and failing horribly. Like someone was like
Yes.
trying to be like super cool, and it's kind of like when you see like I don't know, you try to make an older guy, it's like be cool, be hip, and he turns his hat around and
and
he's
known for
trying
starring in
to.
comedies. So it's just like, why did you cast him as a serious person? Were you
Yeah.
trying to be like Serpico or Lethal Weapon? Because you didn't have any of those elements.
Even his voice, he was like speaking in this weird whispery, like, yeah. It's like,
yeah, he's trying to be
why
all
are you
raspy,
doing that? Yeah.
Harvard cop, and yeah, no one's giving any notes. Now get this, Rick Yoon was attached to this. That's right.
That's right.
Ninja Assassin, Olympus Has Fallen. At least he had one less bad movie to add to his career.
Jesus.
So Van Damme was offered the chance to reprise his role of Guile, and then he turned it down. So they decided to not make it be a sequel. But
Wow.
yeah, I don't know. This movie skipped theaters in a bunch of other countries, including Australia, and I was just like, who distributed it? It was.
They didn't skip it. They gave it back. They were like, don't you play this
I
in
think
our
that was
country.
Fox.
Yeah,
I think that was
yeah.
Fox as well.
Another
don't
one.
you play this here.
Okay, so it was Hyde Park and 20th Century Fox.
Yep.
We're seeing a track record here.
Yeah, Fox is doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah. And then they're having their Fox News host try and put fake quotes on here. Oh man. So then we go to Talkin'.
Never saw that one.
I actually don't hate it as much as everybody else, to be fair.
It was watchable, but I did get bored at certain parts of it. It did introduce me and say, hey, John Fu, he's a decent martial artist, and the director was Dwight H. Little, who you might know from movies like Free Willy 2,
Halloween 4,
Prison Break, and Rapid Fire.
Rapid Fire.
Keto.
Wow.
So, Marked for Death with Steven Seagal.
Yep.
But it was okay. I'm like the only guy on the planet who likes the sequel because it was just a decent, just run away and just fight movie. But it was even more confusing because it kind of skipped theaters. The director disowned it, and then it's like it and basically it followed the first one, but none of them really have much to do with the other. Like, this one was just kind of a fight to the death movie, and the other one was just kind of a person on the run, Manchurian Candidate, Born Identity, sword fighting movies. I'm like, okay. People just seem to just want to just put random, if they're not already having investors, just put random faces on a movie to sell it. They're just adding random sequels to everything and just embracing every market. Anyone that bites, I'll take theater for $5. Oh, direct-to-video will bite for $10? Perfect. I'll make my money back. Who bothered with The Prince of Persia?
I did.
Okay.
From Jerry Bruckheimer.
We got to talk about
The
things.
studio that brought you Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep.
And the director of 4 Weddings and a Funeral and The Goblet of Fire. It's The Prince of
Yeah.
Persia. Developed by Ubisoft. Great track record, Ubisoft.
Boy, oh boy. So
I played the first one on it was on PlayStation when Ubisoft relaunched it, and it was kind of a thing because my uncle and dad had played it back, during the 90s when it was first a PC game, and so they're like, oh, cool, so you're getting to do that. I remember when it was a new thing and all that. So whoever wants to go first, just go for it. Just weigh in.
2 words, Jake Gyllenhaal. He is not even Middle Eastern. I don't know who made that choice.
No. And this
that's
is before
what
we
turned
accepted
me off.
Well, and I didn't like most of his movies, and I didn't know half the time if it was him or just his agent, or the movies themselves. But yeah, it's like when you announce it, Jake Gyllenhaal, action star. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
If you worked out in the gym for a few weeks, I don't buy you as an action star. I'm sorry. You got to be on like a TV show, and I got to get to like you for a season, or just look at, Just,
And
but,
see, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
but yeah, it did kind of is like Jerry Bruckheimer, he just kind of let them do whatever they wanted. He just wanted a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of spectacle, and it's like, well, I don't know. Is this Prince of Persia is kind of more? It's definitely more like Lara Croft, where it just you can undo time, and he uses that to your advantage. But see, I think the biggest issue is the minute that's just not going to be a good script. The minute you introduce that, it's kind of like if you had Highlander, but you knew someone couldn't die. You know, it's just like you take away all the suspense if you know that someone is invincible. You know. Or you could have done at least like John Wick, where you make fun of the whole, you know, he's going to get you one way or the other, but he's going to take a while to kill you. But they just weren't inspired to do that. Instead, they just got, you know, Jim Arterton from James Bond and Ben Kingsley. Welcome back. And Alfred Molina is basically comic relief. He's in Free Stooges.
Oh, man, another one. Alfred Molina.
But I'll let Shelly and the two of you guys go. Well, what is working in this movie, if anything, and what isn't working at all?
You can
To
see
be honest,
Whoever wants to.
I was gonna say, to be honest, I saw this in the theater, and I don't remember a thing about it. So there you go.
I agree.
Yeah, it's you just see the movie and you're just like, whatever.
I'm like, I saw it. That's all I can say.
Yes.
I can't say much else.
No, and I heard it was like a huge flop. That they tried to put like a lot of money behind this, and it just nobody cared. No, and Jake Gyllenhaal is a good actor, and the problem is
he later apologized for taking the role. He's like, I didn't fit it perfectly.
Well, did he not know that by the name of the movie, Prince of Persia? And it's not comedy, like.
Oh, don't you know? They were only until Gods of Egypt was it acceptable to play whatever was on the paper.
Man, it's wow. And the crazy thing is that I think he's a good actor. I think and he's actually supposed to be in the video game adaptation of the Division, if they're still making that.
I think they are, but
yes, they are.
Much like Splinter Cell, it's going to be in development hell for a while. Fortunately, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen Mythic Quest, which has the Always Sunny and Community guys involved with it, they're the producers of that. All those game cinematics, those are them. And so I think they're slowly going to make their money back before they try to make another movie that may or may not work. So Roger Ebert has a very sarcastic remark. Jake Gyllenhaal, the two leads are not inspired. Gyllenhaal could make the cover of Muscle magazine, but he plays the stun as if harboring Spider-Man's doubts and insecurities.
And see, I could see him playing like Nathan Drake in Uncharted, but not this. Like,
well, in Uncharted, I am fearing is probably going to go that same way because Wahlberg was attached to it for the longest time, so there's the kiss of death. But then, you know, let's get the new Spider-Man actor. So there you go. Here's the connection. Everybody has to be in a superhero movie or just some other spectacle. And it's just like, when you just start overusing actors, you know, that this isn't going to be good for them because regardless of whether the movie is good or not, it's very frustrating when you get typecast a bit, but they think it's subtle. It's like, it's not really all that subtle.
No.
But I think you guys summed it up. It's just not a very remarkable movie, and I don't remember a thing about it. And it's funny. This was one of the few ones that my pal Cloyce he's usually pretty laid back and smooth, and this was the only movie when I mentioned it, he's like, sucked. He shouted across. We were having a barbecue outdoors.
Yeah.
Sucked. Okay. I've never seen Cloyce act this way. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's jump into Breaking Bad, the movie. Oh, I mean, Need for Speed.
Oh God,
I have not seen this.
I have not seen that, and that looked. Oh God, what's the guy's name? The main character guy. What's his actor's name?
No.
It
features a Roadhouse type commando type plot, or shall we say, Gone in 60 Seconds? But no, it was based on the video game by Electronic Arts and by the director who did the real life SEAL Team movie Act of Valor.
Yep.
He used to be a stuntman. His brother Rick Roman Wog has had way better success doing depressing crime movies. But Scott, I'm not sure if he's ready yet. I like this movie in a junky way,
Wow.
but it just, no, don't get me wrong. It will not make best movie of the year or anything like that. It's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I had fun with it because I just figured they could build on it a bit. They were kind of making fun of Fast and Furious, and at the same time, they were being really, really stupid. Oh, Dominic Cooper seemed like he was having the time of his life playing Dino, the main bad guy. I gotta race you by whatever means. Really, the highlight for me, though, was just seeing Imogen Poots as the car broker love interest, as well as Michael Keaton as the DJ who's monitoring the race.
Michael Keaton's in this?
Yeah.
You didn't know that? Oh, yeah.
My God. Dear God.
Rami Malek's also in this. Oscar winner.
You gotta save your money as an actor, man. You gotta. Jesus, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Michael, we're talking about the same Michael Keaton, fat man.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
He's in that. Even I know that.
Oh, man. Dakota Johnson.
Yep.
I even know she was in that.
Yep.
My dear God.
She's Toby's girlfriend, dude. Okay. That's all good.
Oh God.
Ew, John, weigh in. You've been too quiet. Should someone see this for the silly action that you typically see in one of the cinematics of the game, or should you save your money?
Save your money.
Okay.
Oh God.
A.O. Scott was surprisingly positive. He's usually harsh on this kind of things. He said, energetic, unpretentious B movie. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's definitely a B movie. Cinema score, B+. Oh, so
Wow.
a lot of people went out and saw it. I thought it was kind of knew what it was, but at the same time, it was a little too much. And at the same time, it was mercifully short. So I was just like, well, that was over the top. That was Roadhouse on wheels.
Wow.
If you like some 80s movies, you might like it. Otherwise, yeah, fuck it. Enough of this. Let's go on to Agent 47, the second Hitman movie. This time, they casted Rupert Friend of Homeland in the Queen Victoria movie in the title role. Then they had a commercial director make his debut and a cover of Jimi Hendrix's Voodoo Child play in the credits. And Thomas Crutcherman from Avengers 2 and 24 as one of the villains. And Zachary Quino
It's like, yep.
as the main special agent turned villain
Yep.
down. I had fun with this, but it's not going to be for everybody. If you get the Blu-ray, you have you have a lot of special features, and you also get an on-screen body count. I know one of the writers on this, I think, later worked on similar stuff like American Assassin and the Man. So I enjoyed it as a spy movie. How Hergen Prochnow also makes a cameo. This time as a good guy.
I actually forgot that.
Why does he appear in video game movies so much? I will say this, the ending pissed me off. And not because it was random, not because it was unfitting, it's just they set it up for a sequel that you knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's better than how it originally was. Originally, it was supposed to have Paul Walker. I'm like, why does everyone cast Paul Walker in as a Paul guy?
Yep, he was supposed to
Rest
play
in
him.
peace, but no.
I think you'll like Marco Beltrami's score. This was a good score, which is not what I can say about the Max Payne score.
Jesus. Man.
It's score to be on Cinema Score. Okay.
Who are these people?
Who are these people?
Jesus.
Basically what made me want to go out and see it. I already knew it wasn't going to have the stealth that Hitman has, but I knew that it was one guy said it, like in this review, Geek.com, that's who it was. He was like, basically this is like the Terminator or John Wick, and with some equilibrium and dread fights. And it's like, okay. Okay. Well, I got nothing else for that.
Well, the stunt team for John Wick was involved with that, so.
Yeah, lots of stunt people. I thought the stunts were pretty cool, but again, if you don't like the story, you're not gonna like the movie. What's funny though is when I had a family member who saw the trailer and they thought it was Orlando Bloom in the main guy. I'm like, no, that is not Legolas. Not even
I
close.
actually thought that at first.
They do
when I saw
look
the trailer.
alike.
They really do. Different
They
kinds
do.
of actors.
Yeah.
He did a good job for what was required for it, but that's just it. It wasn't deep. Okay, so let us go to a movie that Industrial Light and Magic wrongly thought would change the world of movie making and visual effects had Lord of the Rings, Weta Digital not already beat them to the punch. It is Legendary Pictures and Universal's Warcraft, the movie.
I still can't believe that was made into a movie. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never bothered. Never bothered.
I have to agree. Wow.
Oh, boy.
like
saw the
I know it
trailer.
was based on the MMO.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, yeah.
playing the first one, it's like, how could they actually make this a movie? Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's no
Right?
story. You decide the story. So
exactly, exactly.
100%
100%.
Close decides
correct.
to makes an uncredited cameo.
Wait,
Needs some
who
extra money after Guardians of the Galaxy. Clancy Brown is in this. I don't recall him in it at all, but Dominic Cooper is also in this. Paula Patton plays half orc who's supposed to be sexy. I'm not seeing it. Travis
That's what
Fimmel.
turned me off
Gotta
because
look
I'm like, how
past
do you
the
make
test.
how do you make Paula Patton ugly? You add tusk to her and make her green looking and shit.
Mhm.
And I was like,
The
And I
green,
mean,
the green. Ask Kirk. The green.
right there you go.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
Captain Kirk.
Yeah. Those chicks look better. I will say they oof, man. Oof.
Surpassed Prince of Persia as the highest grossing movie of all time. I know my brother took his girlfriend to see it and they were just kind of mixed. They were just kind of like, and they wanted me to go to it with them and I'm like, no fucking way. I waited for HBO and I had to fast forward for this. This is like,
Yeah.
this is Willow, but without the fun. So,
This actually
Yeah.
made a bunch of money.
oh, well, aside from that, not to shit on Patton or even Travis Fimmel, they were all casted because they'd just been in similar stuff. Like, who do you know Travis Fimmel? Oh, that dude from Vikings? Okay. Let's give him the Viking role.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it's just like, after a while, again, movies don't have to bring anything new, but I just felt like I was watching every awful Braveheart Gladiator knockoff. I just, like, I don't care about any of these people. I don't.
Yeah.
And just seeing Industrial Light and Magic just stroking their ego, that really did rub me the wrong way. And I know this is a controversial pick. I'm not a fan of David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones. I've just found him to be so stuck up in interviews, and I'm just like, I just have yet to see a movie. You know, Source Code had already pissed me off 5 years prior, and so I saw him in this, and I'm just like, ooh boy, you got some explaining to do.
Genuinely did not know that he was a director.
I
just
knew
knew it
that.
was David Bowie's son.
Oh, get this.
I even thought he was David
Corona
Bowie's son
role
until years
was
later.
Yeah.
Get this. The Corona role was considered for Idina Menzel.
Interesting.
Okay.
And all these other people is like, I'm looking at people who were attached to this. It's just like, was this in other states of development? Because it doesn't matter who was in this if the plot doesn't work. Because like you say, I had people try to get me into World of Warcraft, and I was just like, I couldn't bother. I was like, nope, I'm not gonna play my life away doing a game that never ends. I gotta have a story and a reason to unlock characters or something. If most people love to just roam endlessly, I get bored. And so that's just it. It's like, how do you even form a story about this when the story is whatever you want it to be? So, yeah. But let us go to Assassin's Creed. I promise we're almost done.
Oh God.
Assassin's Creed, I think, has run its course as a dang near as a video game because they come out with one of those every year. So
They do. They really do.
They really do. And people were mad at me when I couldn't catch up with them. Like, I'm sorry, I only played a demo of one at Best Buy. I'm already confused by the storyline because it's set within different realities different
Like
eras.
time travel?
Well, more like he's like, didn't in one of them you play as like the ancestor of him?
That's the thing. It's like if you share the DNA, you share the DNA of your ancestor, of course. So the technology basically says, well, you can go back in time and live their life.
Yeah.
That is some quantum leap stuff.
It very much is,
You know?
and I think that's honestly like what kind of makes the series not live up to its potential. Like I feel like it's famous, it gets money, but it's not as good because it's like it's not really it's so convoluted.
Versus being deep, like you say. Yeah.
Yeah, it should have just been by the eras. Because I will say this, the world building is amazing, but then it's like when you go back and forth between, past and present, it's just like, okay,
Oh yeah,
what's
the
supposed to
fighting
happen?
moves were definitely interesting because I mean this is by Ubisoft, so half the time you're sneaking around like Sam Fisher and Splinter Cell, the other time you're basically are like the Prince of Persia. So,
Yeah,
but like you say, it's kind of just once you take that gimmick away, there really wasn't much else. Like I don't remember any characters or any levels, and so it's like I can't really get behind it.
and so what about the movie?
Very dull. That's what I say.
Made no sense. Very well shot. Kind of showed how Michael Fassbender kind of took time off from movies. His star was kind of dropping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with this one. That's what started it.
Yeah.
I rolled up on that movie. It was on TV one day,
Oh,
and I just kind of stopped there. I didn't know what it took a long time for me to realize that this was an Assassin's Creed movie. It just seems like some other thing. I was like, what is this? And
when
then
you
I
add
looked
all
at
the, that's just it. I really do feel like Shelly is saying is like time travel works better if it's just a Quantum Leap or Star Trek episode because it's just 40 minutes. That's less than an hour. So the writer already from that point on was told you've got to wrap this up. And unfortunately, movies like to be just too clever for their own good, and there's just always one part that doesn't match up, and it just hurts your head. I'm like, okay, Back to the Future did it well, Terminator did it well. I have yet to see any other time travel movie where I'm just like, yeah, it's just too much,
Yeah.
Like 12 Monkeys, they were able to make into a show and kind of enhance the movie premise, but it's like then there's other ones where it's just like you only know them for the weird plot twist ending. It became kind of a Since the Ring kind of deal, and it's like, well, if you're just known for the plot twist ending and everything else is bland, that's not good. So.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Only thing I remember about the Assassin's Creed movie is when I saw it in the theater, somebody, a few rows down from me fell asleep and started snoring. The only thing I remember. And I'm like, well, there they go. It deserved that.
Oh boy. Oh yeah. So I won't keep you all anymore. Hold up. What did this make on Cinema Score? Who are these people?
Yeah.
Okay, it made. Because it's interesting to know. You want to know who gets turned off by certain movies. Some movies that I think are very incredible get a C+ by certain people because they have an anti-hero as the main character. God, it made a B+. What the fuck? Okay, no.
Okay.
No.
Like I said, someone said that they're either high. I say people are getting paid. It's somewhere in there. Maybe they're getting paid and they're high. So they're all
both.
Yeah, it's both.
They're
They're getting paid in drugs. That's what it is.
Oh my god. IndieWire, which I usually respect, gave this a B-, declaring this to be the best video game movie ever made. Is the kind of backhanded compliment that sounds like hyperbole, but the description fits the bill on both counts. How? You confuse your audience, which is setting us back another 20 years in video game movies, and oh my god. And then someone at the Daily Telegraph compares this to Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code conspiracy novels.
What?
How did you even make that connection? Because there's one scripture in one of those books? No, get the fuck out of here. I mean, Jesus. If you could compare any two on like movies. God.
Good.
Oh.
This hurts my
The
heart.
Guardian gave a hysterical interview, Peter Bradshaw. I bet playing the game is much more exciting, but then getting Fassbender to slap a coat on Dulux on the wall of his high-tech prison cell and monitoring the progressive moisture loss would be more exciting.
It looks
Oh,
like that movie
Jesus.
was like that. Ugh.
And then Jeremy Irons shows up as like one of the scientists. So
Yeah.
he has another dud besides Dungeons and Dragons and Aragon to add to his resume. Perfect.
Another person, Jeremy Irons, just like, man, just Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't do this stuff. He must really just live on his budget. I've never seen him be like, man, I got to do one of these.
Oh, it was co-founded by
movies.
Brett Ratner's production company. Thanks, buddy. I'm glad you're not in here
I
anymore.
forgot about that.
After all the pussy grabbing, he's finally away. Thank God. Oh my God, Frank Marshall was supposed to produce this. Olivia Munn was supposed to appear in this. Oh God, so glad no one
wow.
appeared in this.
Yikes.
So really, all I gotta say is this is one of two video game movies starring Alicia Vikander. Let's go to the next one, the new Tomb Raider.
See, here's the thing. Like, that's one of those movies where it's like, I just want to play the game because the movie is just kind of like, It doesn't have like that feeling like I'm actually in the woods and stuff like that. So, and then also for what's her name? Alicia Vikander.
Yeah,
That's her name.
that's her name.
Yeah.
What is interesting about her? Because here's the thing, I haven't seen her like be like great in some, but everybody is like she is amazing, but I haven't seen it yet. So
I think it was just mainly the other Bolivian girl and just. But I will agree, she's kind of one of those other actors, is like you've seen in all the British historical pieces, and everyone's like, "Oh, I love you in interviews," but we wish we could kind of see that on screen. But it was mainly Ex Machina, one of the Bourne Identity movies, and then
Yep.
what else was she in? Oh yeah, that's right, she was in The Fifth Estate, and but yeah, the Danish Girl got her on the map.
okay.
I think she's fine for what she is, but I understand what you mean, where it's just like she kind of does play a lot of characters where you're just like, yeah, this character needs some more fleshing out for even
Hey,
your Austin.
That's that one girl. That's
That girl.
that girl.
Who's that girl?
Yeah.
I had some fun with this, but don't get me wrong. It's a Saturday or Sunday night movie. It's not a Friday night movie where you go, oh yeah, awesome.
You're just unwinding, you're like zoning out, waiting to get tired enough to go to sleep, like that kind of movie, isn't it?
Mm.
Well, I mean, I didn't feel tired, but I see what you mean. It had Hannah John come in. You might know her from Killjoys and Game of Thrones and Ready Player One. She was having fun, I thought, as the sidekick. But that's what they should have done more, just kind of develop her spy agency a bit. So they had Daniel Wu as one of the ship captain who helps her out, and then you got Walton Goggins doing his best Alan Rickman and Die Hard impression.
Yeah.
Jesus.
This also scored a B. So I guess everyone just likes anything. Just can you submit a review before it comes out? Because this is based on want to see versus see. I had fun with it, but there were times where I felt like they were holding back on the blood just to get a PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
Other than that, this is kind of how I feel about the new Mortal Kombat, where these are two different movies trying to tell the same story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, oh boy, the new
It's kind
Mortal
of weird.
Mortal Kombat. Yeah, Mortal Kombat one. Yeah.
Before we
weird
get to
being old
that,
enough to
before we get to that, so Saban Films released a zombie app video game that was adapted into a movie called Dead Trigger,
oh boy.
starring Autumn Sir, Isaiah Washington, and Dolph Lundgren.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
Well,
I can't recommend it because no one is all that well used, but I forgot who Scott Winhauser. He like became a big writer of something. I forgot. Looking it up. Romeo Miller. Fuck, I forgot he was in that. Ooh, Hurricane Heist. That was bad. Oh. Yeah, he's done just some other B action movies and everything. Yeah, that was okay, but it was very bland. It pretty much reminded me of the Dead Rising video games, where it's just I got so bored after a while. It's like Dead Rising was such a campy game, and here you're just stretching it out, just trying to make it go from one scene to the other. This is becoming very arrogant.
oh yeah, Dead Rising. was that a show and a movie, or was it just?
It was made for Crackle Online, and they just made 2 movies back to back, so you could call it whatever.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah. I didn't even see. I heard about them. I didn't. But then it's like you hear about it, and then you're like, okay, where's the movie? I didn't even know it was on Crackle. So.
I mean, they have done a few, but they've been very minuscule. They did one that was Red Faction, which was like for Sci-Fi Channel, and
Oh yeah, I remember.
and that was another one where it's just like I haven't played the game, but this is just a confusing, annoying movie.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's Shelly, tell us about Detective Pikachu.
That
Oh my god.
okay. I was somewhat looking forward to it because my son is big into Pokemon, so of course he'll at least enjoy it. And then I watch it, and it's actually pretty good. You know, it's
And I mean, who else are you gonna cast? It's got to be Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, yeah, and of course, let me see, yeah, Bill Nye, in spoiler, a really good bad guy role.
Bill
Yeah.
Nye, bad
Well,
guy. You
science
taught me
is-
so much about science, though.
No, English one, the English one, not the
Oh.
title.
Bill Nye.
Oh, wow.
Bill Nighy, that's who it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say
Yeah.
I could never see him. Like I learned so much.
Whatever
Yeah,
you say, it has to
God.
be true.
That I was about to look that up. I'm like, what did they do to Bill Nye? Like,
Yeah. But yeah, he's, quintessential bad guy role. Like,
Fortunately, not in Pirates of the Caribbean makeup. Thank God. None of that.
no.
yeah.
Oh God.
Forgot about Detective Pikachu.
Yep.
Man.
I'm sure my sister has already seen it at least 20 different times because it's out every day. So we already talked about Rampage. Let's briefly go back to the new Mortal Kombat. So, do you think they can enhance it and do better since it's getting a sequel, or is it just a rough starting point? Just
Rough
I know
starting
the biggest
point.
complaint
It
was
is very rough. Yeah.
It wasn't really a tournament. It was more just a free-for-all kind of fighting.
Pretty much.
And see, I thought Matt Callahan did a way better job. He didn't do a good job with the exposition, but he did way better with like the 80s, just kind of Bloodsport, Roadhouse kind of one-liners and everything. And like, okay, so he's in Expendables mode. But I will say, Louis Tan, nothing against him. I think he's an okay stuntman turned actor. He didn't really have as much appeal as the main role. And I saw some people saying more roles. I'm like, he's okay, but really I just had kind of just fun with all the other guys, just seeing them just do finishing moves and just blurt out Schwarzenegger type lines. But
Yeah.
I will say, this is the best gore I've seen since the original Wishmaster.
I remember the score, so.
No, gore.
Oh, the gore. Sorry.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
I thought you said
I don't
score.
remember anything about the score.
Like, so I'm like,
Okay.
That is a complaint.
I will say the fatalities when they showed them were decent. The best one was the hat with,
Oh yeah, someone got a jaw ripped off. It was like,
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah. Just, I mean, we talked about this on one of our episodes of our show that we did a whole breakdown of this movie. The main thing was it has no life and no character,
Yeah.
no spirit. It's just bland, and the new main character, what's his name? Cole Young.
Cole Young.
That's the most boring Mortal Kombat name I've ever heard in my life. Cole Young.
He got Shinhan because he had been in Dark Knight, so yeah. I thought he was having fun, but yeah, he was lacking the Kari Tagawa.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah,
say, I thought what's his name from Last Samurai in 47
Yeah.
Ronin did a good job as Scorpion.
Yeah.
He
was
did.
Great.
He
The
was
whole
great.
thing-
This
the
is a
whole thing, 10
non-popular
minutes was
opinion,
great.
but I'm not a fan of what's his name, Joe Taslim. I know everyone loves him from Raid, but I just don't think he's much of an actor. He's a henchman. He's not a
Mhm.
deep guy.
Well, that's what he was in this movie. But yeah, the first part of
Sub-Zero.
this movie, great.
Yeah, the first 10, 15 minutes, yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah,
And then it was a steep downhill after that, honestly.
Yeah,
It gets pretty repetitive. I will give you that. And they could have, I don't know, they could have at least just had. I would have liked to just see more of them prepping, because that was kind of what most of what I got from it was them just prepping and just giving each other shit. Because it felt like I just throw back to all the Karate Kid kind of movies of the 80s, but I don't know. Maybe they could just. I've never heard of this director before, so I take it.
It was his first time directing.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, and just like I noticed, like the actual production value, even though we have more money, and I understand, like, you know, we're dealing with COVID, but if you look at the first movie, like the video game, you had like different stages, quote unquote, different places that they fought. Here, they're in a cave. They're kind of in a back alley. Then they go to like a warehouse. That's it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where the budget went. I think it mainly just went to just kind of just have diverse fighting and everything.
Well, even that, yeah.
All right. Well, I had some fun with the fatalities, but had he not had those one-liners, I would have probably tuned out long ago. So, I mean, it's still a junky movie in many ways. So, I mean, I think they could enhance it on a sequel. I don't know what it was, though, in general, though. Like, if the guys were told more action, less character development, or just gritty reboot. So I think this could really benefit if they just changed property owners and just gave it to someone else to try. So
yeah, and why did they make Liu Kang a weirdo? Like he's not sociable. He doesn't have any personality. Like, I just go back to Robin Shaw. Like, okay, he's not a great actor. He's a decent actor, but Liu Kang in that movie felt like a real person. He wasn't like a stereotypical Asian character. He was, you know, he basically just joined the tournament to avenge his brother. And that set him on a path. But then in this one, it's just like, it's the tournament. You guys have not heard of tournament? It's just.
Yeah. I will give you that. I did not care for him. I fade into the background because we got this random guy who's not in the games called Cole Young. So
Cole Young sounds like a make your own character on NBA 2K or something like that. Like, it's just so bad. Like, this story follows Cole Young.
What did you think of Sonya Blade?
What? She was there.
She wasn't given much to do.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought she had some great fighting moves. Okay.
But the problem is that it's the editing that was so bad during her fights.
It was dark too.
Yeah.
I saw it on HBO Max, so I guess maybe the theaters just aren't adjusted for all these fast-paced fighting. I don't know.
No, I saw it on HBO Max and I noticed some of the bad editing at times. I'm like, Jesus, guys.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So much with that movie that just fell.
Yeah.
It was flat.
Yeah, it was just meh.
They did spend too much time on his family. This is like, I don't care about them.
Bill Burr made a special appearance as what's his name? The guy in the robot mask, which looks like paper mache.
Yeah.
God, now they made me forget that character's name. It doesn't matter. It's because he was terrible.
Oh, Cabal?
Did he also have
Cabal, yeah.
Bill Burr as Cabal.
That wasn't Bill Burr. That
wasn't Bill Burr.
I'm joking because that's what he sounded like. I was like, why is he in this movie? Why is this guy from Boston? He's a otherworldly character.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh God. So I don't think any of us have seen Werewolves Within, but apparently it's based on a game and getting roasted.
I heard it. Yeah,
I saw Monster Hunter, and that is by far
too.
The most unwatchable big budget movie I think I've seen.
Mila Jovovich once again in another video game movie.
But
God damn it!
Perlman and Tony Jaa.
And Tony Jaa.
Megan Good,
Tony Jaa was in there.
Megan Good should totally fire her agent, and Tony Jaa just seems to just show up in anything. Oh yeah, T.I. Harris.
Yes, T.I. Of course, because he can act, right?
I mean, somebody's got to act. South Africa said.
So
Yeah, no,
we need checks. That's their agents.
Boy, I could not get for this movie. So Paul W.S. Anderson, he can stage action. Why don't we let him write? He understands character development.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw some people saying I didn't think it was that bad. I'm like, and some I saw totally wanted to see this opening day. It's like I saw the poster, I saw part of a TV spot. I'm like, yep, that is the fakest looking monster I think I've ever seen. And Milla is still in Resident Evil mode. I'm just like, yeah, no, but no, I give this a negative 100 out of 10. I fucking hate this movie
There you go.
so much. Worst movie we reviewed tonight, just because that and Warcraft and Assassin's Creed, just after a while you're looking, if you're doing more than just looking at your clock and whether or not the actors are doing a good job with this one, I'm just, again, you're in the dark. That's worse than not being able to see a fight, is when you're in the dark. And it's just like, okay, I've seen Aliens and Tremors. I don't need to see it 500 more times.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Jesus. But yeah, Ron Perlman, they killed him off pretty good. It was a nothing role. I'm sure next time he's in town at a convention, let's see what stories he has to say. Oh yeah, we're telling campfire stories.
Jesus. Man.
IndieWire gave this a rightly deserved D-. You're too kind. I'm sorry. I hate this more than U Ball's movies. Because
Wow.
I don't know if I can go there.
You can't make a coherent movie. This one just, there's no excuse for it to be just so unengaging and plotless, and you're spending millions. It's like, Jesus. Shot in South Africa. There's so many better movies shot there.
Yeah.
Blood Diamond, this was not. Oh, God. So let's end this on a positive note. So what were our thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog? We talked really about
That was actually really
It was
good.
a surprise to me.
Spoiler
Yeah.
enough. The movie. B.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
I think you
Yeah,
guys
haven't
will
seen
really like it.
It's good. It's actually good.
Because they really, it keeps the plot like so simple. Like
Oh yeah.
all the issues we've had with all these other movies that you guys have all addressed, and that would have been better if they recast this person or introduced the plot way up here or developed the main characters so we look forward to the carnage. This one, Ben Schwartz, just, you probably know him, as the evil brother of one of the other guys, Henry Winkler's evil son on Parks and Rec.
Yes.
And,
Yep.
and so it took me a while to kind of remember the voice, but I saw him promoting it, so I was like, okay, I'll bite. They're giving him something to do. John, you said your introduction to Sonic wasn't the games, but the weekly cartoon show with starring Urkel.
Oh my god.
Well, that and the comics.
Oh, okay.
that
Even
introduced them.
better.
They did have the Sonic the Hedgehog comic. Yep, I remember
Oh.
those.
Oh wow.
If you weren't jumping on giant boxes like Mario, you were, trying to collect all the rings like Sonic.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh,
I
yeah.
would always play a demo when I went to Sam's Club or whatever, and it dominated video stores. So it is like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I saw the people attached to it and just saw how it was in production hell, and so reluctantly went to it. My parents, again, took my sister. We went to the drive-in. It's technically the last movie I've ever seen in a theater. It was surprisingly just very engaging, and
Mm-hmm.
it works better than any other movie where you take a fantasy world character and you place him on existing Earth, because the cast was really there. They had Tika Sumpter from Mixed Dish. They had James Marsden from X-Men and Westworld.
Yep.
And the gags were really well planned, and it actually took us a while to realize, oh my god, the main bad guy, that's Jim Carrey.
Oh no, I could
Yeah.
tell, 'cause he's just out there. Every
But,
single
yeah.
character is
But
out
he-
there.
Well, it's interesting because Jim Carrey.
Do it.
It's Jim Carrey.
He apparently improvised that whole random dance he does.
I'm not surprised, honestly.
Yeah, really.
God.
And it's
So
weird because when it first started off, I was a little worried, but then as it went along, he got better and better each time. And
and they kept it just simple, just 5 different chases And with each chase, you find something new about where the rings are, or where the main
definitely.
super villain's weapon that you gotta defuse. Is like, that's what you gotta do. You know, when you all these other movies we mentioned, like you say, had a great ensemble cast on paper, but the movies just didn't, all fell flat because they went for either just carnage or famous names and just left the script on the floor. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying the script is going to blow everyone away, but yeah, Tim Miller, who worked on Terminator Dark Fate and Deadpool 1, his visual effects company really knew how to just kind of get across just all the wacky gags, and you actually felt like Sonic was a character, just as
Yep.
Toy
Yeah.
Story, as opposed to, oh, that's an actor talking to an animated prop that's not there yet,
Yeah.
There was only like one part that some people were noting is like that you can tell where the fixes were apparent, and that's during the redneck bar fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sonic pats someone on the back and it looks a little jumpy, but it's fine.
I mean-
It's 1 second. I'm not going to complain about that. Oh man. So who has watched the real closer to this? Who has watched The Witcher on Netflix?
Nope.
I have
Watching it.
watched it.
On my list to watch.
I have watched it, and I will say this: it's a little convoluted. You have to do some backstory, but it is a well-produced show, and the monster stuff. I enjoyed that part, and I'm just happy that Henry Cavill has something to do other than Superman. I do like him in the role, because I don't know, it's weird because I don't know if he's taking it seriously or he's just having fun, because he's the ultimate deep-throated character, but he's interesting to watch. So, and surprisingly, there's a lot of sex in this too. I knew it was in the game, but I was like, whoa, I was not even expecting all this. I feel a little naughty. So,
Warrior
it is
should
a
be
good
watching
show. Yeah, it was very, I was just like, I won't spoil anything for you, but you just got to watch the show, and yeah. Boy, oh boy.
You guys got farther than me. I couldn't stand a minute of this.
Oh, really?
This
I
felt-
can understand why, because it is a little slow, but you got to stay with it. So,
that's just it.
yeah.
I hate to shit on Henry Cavill. I think he's an okay action star, and I actually do like some of the Superman movies, but I feel like he just didn't have the right amount of. They should have hired just someone else who I felt could probably have brutal but fascinating. There's a bunch of shows on the air right now. There was Jack Bauer in 24. There was Vic on The Shill. Now there's Harry Bosch. They kind of just needed someone else who I kind of look forward to seeing them just kind of solve the various kingdom and invasions, and I just couldn't get into it, but it
Gotcha.
definitely has great set design, and
Oh,
that
yes.
is how I wish every movie based on a game or just even a cartoon would look like. And it's they just seem to always they just want to cut budgets because they keep hiring investors who don't play games or market them for that matter.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
I'm really even surprised that with all these other ones they're tempted to talking about, Halo's supposed to get a Showtime show finally after getting all these anthology things. I'm really even surprised what other stuff they haven't already adapted yet, and I'm at the same time worried. I don't want to rush this,
Well, I know I'm worried because they're making a Metal Gear Solid movie, and I'm a Metal Gear Solid fan, and they casted Oscar Isaacs as Solid Snake, and that because I like the director, he did a decent job on Kong Island, or was it Kong Skull Island?
So
That kind of surprised me. It was better than I thought. But then when they said Oscar Isaacs, I'm like, okay, so they don't know about the backstory or what the inspiration of the game was, or at least the character, because
they're just thinking, oh, it's Snake Plissken. I'm like, well, not as entirely,
Yeah, and Oscar Isaac, he's a great actor, but he's 5'9". Solid Snake is 6 something.
Honestly, they could have just casted Kiefer, who was voicing the character, or they could have even just had the original voice actor.
Yeah, it's gonna they're gonna have to do a lot to win me for after that. I was just like, and in the
Writing.
promotional stuff, they showed, and this is how much of a Metal Gear Solid nerd I am. They showed pictures of Big Boss with the eye patch and not Solid Snake. And then if you're a fan of the series, you're like, that's not the same guy. No.
Mhm. So
yeah.
the writer, who's the writer? Writer, I think. Script is written by Derek. It's not loading. Connolly. Who the fuck is he?
He sounds familiar.
I thought Hideo Kojima was helping write it. So maybe not.
There you go. Avi Arad. Oh, that's not good. He got fired from Marvel.
Oh dear God. I didn't know that guy was still around after all this stuff.
Right, after he got Marvel on the wrong foot. Now he's going to get video game movies. Oh, going, hoping for the best.
Yeah.
But I definitely think Uncharted's doomed. I just don't think.
Yeah.
Because they went for the whole, hey, you know, we changed up the cast. I'm like, but do you understand the story? Because if you haven't changed the script, or if you don't know what it's about, it's already doomed. So I'm already not too fond of like Splinter Cell. I know they were just trying to get a few different writers, and then they just kept getting rid of the scripts. And then they were like, oh, let's have Tom Hardy. I'm like, no. See, back in the day, Splinter Cell, you know, or Sam Fisher's the character, he looked like a mix, like between a gruff Viggo Mortensen and even a George Clooney in his heyday. And now I don't know who you would cast. Maybe you could get Frank Grillo from Captain America and the Purge movies, but you know, it would have to be really, really intriguing, like all those Jack Ryan movies, also by Tom Clancy. You know, you would have to have that level of intrigue, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I am fearing that they're gonna probably just give it the most just bland, you know, what they've done with half of these movies, just give it a bland, die-hard Indiana Jones knockoff plot. It's like, you need something more than just a good actor being hammy. You do need to have a pretty cool terrorism plot and just some other cool, just complex spy warfare. But we shall see. I know they're adapting Borderlands. Isn't that kind of like World of Warcraft though?
Borderlands has a very funny tone, so it's gonna be interesting how they carry over like the actual comedy from that.
It sounds like it would be.
Well, it's Eli Roth directing that.
Yeah.
Ooh, Eli Roth. Ooh. Oh.
And Kevin Hart's one of the characters, not that for.
Well, I mean, The Rock. The Rock and him were already starring in a movie based off a fictional game that was Jumanji, so I guess they got it in their eye.
Well, yeah.
Got to star in movies based on games for real.
Yeah, I know it's him, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Kate Blanchett.
What?
I know that's in that. Yes.
Oh my god. Jamie Lee gonna be in a knife fight with everyone? Is
I don't know.
Chet gonna be an elf? I don't know.
Jesus.
Oh boy. So let's end this on a positive note. What movies would you actually like to see be adapted as, or games be adapted as movies?
Fallout.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I can see that being a cool retro cyberpunk
huge-
show, you
I
know?
am a huge Fallout nerd. I love the first two games. And New Vegas.
Maybe it could work as an anime on Adult Swim. I don't know.
I don't know. They're actually supposed to be making a TV series on Amazon?
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I trust them over Netflix. Since
Yeah.
they weeded out a bunch of the guys who were misleading everybody and canceling their shows and also just pigs. So they got better management now, so I trust them in the TV development department.
Yeah.
If they can do as good a job on The Expanse, hopefully.
Yeah.
How about you, John? Sorry, go ahead.
I can't think of anything right now.
Okay. You guys.
For me, I would say I still feel like they would mess this up, but I would say God of War because I'm a fan.
That's what I was gonna say, Joe.
Okay. Who would you cast as Kratos?
that would be
Because
interesting.
Christopher Judge from Stargate won a game award for like best voice acting in the last one they did.
Yeah, and the last one they did, he did do a good job.
And that was my pal's introduction. He'd never seen Stargate. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
that just makes sense. An Egyptian god becomes a Greek god. you know?
Yeah.
How about
Now-
Jake
Yes.
Gyllenhaal?
Oh
Yeah,
God,
Oh,
It's just-
dear
how would
Lord.
he just play an evil voiceover? Just do
Yeah.
a Morgan Freeman.
Now
Yeah.
see, with God of War, you can go the way that they're going now. Me personally, I would want them to go to the original, just
Yeah.
Kratos is angry and crazy and stuff like that. Like that's what I would like to see. God of War.
I think the other issue is there have been some people who have done good Roman set productions and like sorcery, but it's just been here and there. It's never been consistent. Now
Right.
everyone wants. If people were to do this now, it's probably going to look like the Clash of the Titans or bullshit like
too
God
much
of Egypt.
CGI
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah.
It
Well,
used to
yeah.
look like Gladiator in that set because that production design was great. Like
Yeah.
And
you
it's
felt
like-
like you were there.
They kind of almost had that same mind with Warcraft, but then they decided, let's enhance all the weird makeup and do motion capture. And I'm like, well, it still looks like a video game segment. We want it to look like a movie, So
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, whoever they cast as Kratos, he's got to be able to carry a movie. It can't just be, I'm a grunt, They'll probably hire someone like Jason Statham past his prime.
Oh my
Oh
god.
God. Well, he's already bald. And I support bald men in movies, but
His British accent won't be noticeable.
yeah.
Not at all.
And it's weird, but I think if they got it in the right developers' hands, they could make not a movie because there's too much. They could make an interesting Grand Theft Auto series
Yes, thank you.
because the characters because the gameplay is fun, but I think with the characters, if they do them right, that would carry the show. I would think. Like,
You can almost
Yeah.
do like an American Horror Story. Like every season is a different type. Like you do Vice
exactly.
City,
I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
That would
San
be awesome.
Andreas, Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. But they have to do it right though. They can't make
They
it
would have
watered
to make
down.
a pretty. They could do a cool show. Hell, could it be on Adult Swim?
It could be shit. I was talking about they got to go full tilt with everything. They got to have the gunfights, the criminals, the sex, all that shit. Because I mean that game kind of introduced
It's gotta
that kind of
have
mindset to gaming. And whoever plays like the main character has to be good too. Like
Mhm.
they have had really good main characters. But Joe, I like your idea. Like every single season is like one in Vice City, San Andreas. Then you
Yeah.
go, to Liberty City and stuff like that. So but they gotta do it right though. It has to be like Goodfellas good type writing. And direction and
Oh,
stuff
that's a
like
good
that.
point. Because
Yeah.
almost everybody is gonna want to do something like, I don't know. They're gonna want to do bullshit like, if they don't rip off the Goodfellas opening narration, then they're gonna probably want to be. I mean, has anyone seen Stars' Power?
Mm-mm.
no.
Really excellent. Like,
Oh, Stars Power. Yeah, the Powers. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
that show. Yeah.
yeah, if they could make it like that, New Jack City, Blood In, Blood Out, or, and in this case, there's all kinds of criminals and gangs. So it's
Yeah.
like, you would have to have just some cool kind of ensemble. Like if it could be like Heat or Collateral, that would be good. But good luck getting Michael Mann. He's not going to want to do something that wasn't his property to begin with. You'd have to have.
Yeah.
Maybe you could get David Ayer. He seems cool with Training Day, Street Kings, and all that. But
Well, he's kind of pissed at Hollywood right now anyway. Cause
Oh,
of
yeah,
Suicide
'cause they
Squad,
keep-
so
they keep editing his movies.
yeah, they keep
And they
editing
did that
his
before.
shit.
They did that with Sabotage with Terrence Howard and Arnold.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know they re-edited it.
And
I didn't know that either.
He was
Actually.
already
Wow,
used to
okay.
being kind of the gun for hire, just co-writing everything, like with Dark Blue and SWAT. But yeah, when he got the power and you just shat on him, he was just like, "Fuck you guys."
And I will say that I think it's David Hauser. He was like the creative director for I think that's his name. Dan Hauser. I'm sorry, Dan Hauser.
For
Um,
GTA.
For GTA. he actually just retired. Well, I guess from Grand Theft Auto, because he was like creative fatigue was killing him. It would be cool to see him kind of team up with like a David Ayer-esque type of person that has that background and writing those type of movies. So that would be cool. But it has to be like Narcos level good. I'm a big Narcos fan, and it has to have those very interesting characters that you run into. They're also relatable, that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, totally. Exactly. Like you got to show like which of the characters would you think you would even follow? Because there's going to be some expensive car stunts, but it's got to be to where you can still kind of buy it happening, as opposed to it's Fast and Furious or Expendables. So
right, yeah,
turn your head off. You would have to have a guy who's good with car chases and good with characters. It almost makes one wish that someone would just do what they did with Star Trek before it came back. Just make a fan web series, just people hire their friends and just do a cool, just kind of shootout and everything. They'll probably want lots of sex, but let's not go there after that's what caused it to have a adult rating.
You know what? Well, why not? I mean, like I said, I know
it could be a Netflix show, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, I know people haven't watched The Witcher yet, but I
got it. We were mentioning Scott Wag, but I mentioned his brother Rick Roman Wag. Have any of you seen Snitch with The Rock or Shot Caller with Jamie Lannister? Or
I have seen those.
I've seen
Snitch.
He did another movie called Felon that had just was a prison survival movie with Stephen Dorff and Harold Perrineau and Val Kilmer. And I think he could work it because he wouldn't be trying to rip off Michael Mann or Tarantino. And he's pretty good at giving every character an important part. He could definitely have a mindset that you would definitely see on a show kind of like Power or Oz, where it's like, I created this rich world and I got to bring something new besides just, it's set in Miami one episode, it's set in LA one episode, they're traveling around hijacking a docks,
Yeah.
It would be interesting. How would they even illustrate the heat meter where, one more and cops are going to be on a manhunt for you, Maybe that could be what ended it. Maybe that could be it. It's like, because I know they tried to make Kanan Lynch hit the road or something into a movie, and they just decided because the game wasn't popular with half the crowd and the casting was questionable at best. It was like
that died off.
Thankfully, but it's like you would definitely have to have just a very. It doesn't have to be amazing dialogue, but it would have to be really people who are good at just characterizing stuff. Maybe just see whatever flies. Get someone who's worked on CSI who can make it flashy, and then get someone who worked on The Wire, and boom, done.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Basically. So.
And then get a good action director who understands characters and isn't going to get mindless. So.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Thank you all for being on here. This is really delight. New faces.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Woo! Keep gaming.
Yeah,
Always.
hoping for better movies
Always.
from games. Yeah.
Anything.
Yep.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All, sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time. Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We may talk about video games, music. Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Yes.
I am the master storyteller of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers, the Google Play, Apple Podcasts,
what else?
Podbean,
what else?
Podcast Addict,
goddamn,
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, motherfucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ. We gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want his hair say all that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Don't run the listeners away, PJ.
I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this movie.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
all popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was.
How
be a
could you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our queue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. Whether one last plot holes or gratuitous movies, it's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Welcome to Who Was She podcast. I am your host, Tara Jabari. After a decade working in documentaries, marketing, and all things digital media, I found that podcasting is a strong medium to share stories. After years of producing for others, I decided to start my own biographical podcast. Who Was She will focus on the life of a woman throughout Baha'i history. The first season is about Lydia Zamenhof. Lydia's story explores the subjects of the power of language and faith. Her father invented the universal language Esperanto, and she came from a Jewish family and became a Baha'i. She grew up during World War I and was killed during World War II in a concentration camp, despite heroic efforts to save her life. How can one person's life intersect with so many others, connect across borders, and inspire a biography which inspired this podcast? Over the next few weeks, I will share her story with you and the lives that were most affected by her and those who affected her life as well. They include her father, Ludwig Zamenhof, her spiritual mother, American journalist Martha Root, and the Baha'i German soldier Fritz Mako, who worked for the resistance undercover while having to serve the Nazi Party. I want to thank the author Wendy Heller and George Ronald Publishing for their blessing to let me use Heller's biography, Lydia, The Life of Lydia Zamenhof, Daughter of Esperanto, as a main and instrumental resource for this podcast. So please subscribe and learn about this amazing woman who traveled through 3 continents in an effort to bring unity through the power of language. You can also find more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Who Was She Podcast. Music was composed and performed by Sam Red. I am your host, Tara Jabari. Join us next time as we begin our journey about Lydia Zamenhof.
Hi everybody, it's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything. Pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant, 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.
Are you sick of the same old stale podcasts? Well, then join Vanessa and Darren as they dissect movies of all kinds. The 2 lifelong cinema lovers bring their favorites, curiosities, and first-time watches to the operating table and inject them with a healthy dose of snark. Then there's the waiting room, where they examine books and short stories. So just look for them on Apple Podcasts and where fine podcasts are available. They're part of the Legion Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at VDClinicPod. Join them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/VDClinicPod. Or email them at vdclinicpod@gmail.com. They're ready to cure what ails you. And still, they just might be a little contagious.
Hi there. It's Heather from the Watching Netflix Without You podcast. Did you know that there are over 1,200 Netflix original feature films and documentaries? And that number is only growing. So I've made it my mission to watch as many as I possibly can. Then, with a delightful guest or guests, disclaimer, more often than not my brother Ryan, we spend an episode rating, reviewing, and discussing a film at length. The first half of every episode is spoiler-free for those who haven't seen it yet, and in the second half, after a very clear spoiler warning, we dive into it. And that's really about it. You can listen to Watching Netflix Without You on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more.
We now continue with our program.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up